Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to the Beaver Morning Show. Do, 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 do. Always 100% Canadian, particularly today, because today, recording day, is Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, Remembrance Day. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And with me is my good friend, this way, Mr. Grizzly. Yay! So glad to have you here, my friend.
Good to be here.
A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. I think we know what we're going to be talking about today.
We know what the crux of the conversation will be, for sure.
Indeed. But before we get into it, my good friend, how is your mental health today, sir?
Well, that was really weird. I got super bright there for a second. Mental health, I think, is it's good. It's better than it's been. I mean, I've been struggling for a while here with I talked to you about it the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I've not been struggling in the my life is terrible, I hate myself, nothing like that. No thoughts of self-harm, not dread and doom, nothing like that. But it's the thing about depression is it's not just those things. It's also physical exhaustion and lack of motivation and feeling empty. And my gas tank has been empty for a while. I felt zero creativity, zero ability to, it's like I've been on the hamster wheel. Get up at 4 a.m., shower, shave, take out the Lola, have a cup of coffee, hit the train, get to work my day, get home, sit for 30 minutes, if I'm lucky, then take low. You know what I mean? It's the hamster wheel of life. And I've just felt that for a while and not been able to feel much beyond that. And as a result, everything falls by the wayside. It's like, dude, so bad. So bad. I bought more clothes because I didn't have the energy to get up and do the laundry.
Yep. I've been there.
Yeah. So
I've been there.
That's where I've been for a while, which is why we're so far behind on the audio portion. And I'm working on it today as much as I can before I head down to the cenotaph, and then I'll work on it again this evening. But that's where I've been, and I feel like I turned a corner a few days ago. One of the things I did was self-analysis, and I was talking to Bridget about it, and I was letting her know. I said, I'm going to start clocking things into my calendar as tasks. If I get them done, great. If I don't, it's not the end of the world. But it's there for me to see, to know that, okay. And I'd say I've been about 90% of the way there of getting those things done that I've been putting tasks in.
That's
it's still the
good.
laundry thing. Still the laundry thing. It's like, yeah, I have a clean pair of socks and a clean pair of underwear, so I definitely have to do laundry.
Yeah, yeah, I know that laundry feeling. I mean, it was after my mom passed away,
Mhm.
and I was just like, there was nothing doing like this, and it's not like I didn't do it, but I waited. But there's a couple of times where I just went out and bought more underwear and socks.
Yes, and I've done it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not the only one. And there's been times when I've just been so busy with work in the past, working 75, 80 hours a week. You get home and the weekend rolls around and all you wanna do is sleep. So, do you wanna dedicate all day to doing laundry and house cleaning? And it's like, "No, I'll get the house cleaning done, get the dishes done. That's it, I'm done, I'm finished.
Yep.
I need me time." And I think that's the other factor in this long drawn out process was I felt like I didn't have any time for myself. When you'd sit down and your mind would just race about all the things you need to get done,
Yep.
and then it's a self feeding cycle. It's what can I say? It's mental health issues.
Yeah. But
Sometimes that's just how it goes.
and it's one of those when there is so much after a while because you let it pile up because you
Mhm.
didn't have the energy or whatnot, then the task looks so monumental, and you
Yes,
really have to take the "how do you eat an elephant" attitude, right? It's like I don't have to do the entire house today,
correct.
just the kitchen,
One bite at a time.
one room at a time, like this. Or if you can't, don't even have the energy for the full kitchen,
Mhm.
do the dishwasher,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
or just like pick,
that would be me.
but pick something.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And, it's like even, like, have that, like you say, have it on a list and, like, just go and check it because just the action of checking
Yeah,
it,
there's the satisfaction
it's
of it.
like, done. That's
Well,
one less thing on the pile, right? And
what was it? Jordan Peterson who said, "Clean your room and make your bed every day." And then he said that, and then of course they showed him in a filthy room.
yeah, whatever.
I do make my bed every day. Period. No matter
Mhm.
what. Right. That I do. That I do get done. And I'm a neat freak. It's the OCD
Yes, you
ADHD
cleaned
thing.
off the floor in your place.
Well, it's a little cluttered right now, but I spent a good chunk of Sunday getting things organized because I went into my storage cabinet where I keep audio and video gear amongst other things, and I looked at it and I said, "Okay, I got to tackle this today." I got 50% of it done. It was a much bigger project than I realized, and Bridget was like, "How did it get that way?" And I go, "Well, I put a few things in there and it was well organized, and then more stuff that I had ordered and processed, and it just okay. I'll put it there. I'll put it there. I'll put it, and then you realize, okay, I've just let it go for too long.
Yeah.
So now I do my autumn cleaning, and I do it in the autumn instead of the spring. So that, well, what am I going to clean in the spring? I don't have a house. I don't have the leaves to rake. I don't have, you know. So I do all my big projects in the autumn because, well, it's autumn. I'm going to be indoors mostly. In the spring, I want to be outside.
Mhm,
That's my
mhm.
take, and I don't have outside chores to take care of. So, yeah, I do a lot of my cleaning at this time of the year. So anyway, I know I'm babbling. It happens sometimes.
That's okay, that's okay. Um, I'm doing better, as
Yes, obviously. I
you
mean,
can
you
see.
were suffering there for a few days, huh?
Oh my god. You I won't go back into it because I did a show yesterday and was sharing it with the Dan fam, and it was a bit of a blubbering mess at the beginning.
Mm,
Part of it's insomnia, part of it was a stress cry
that happens. That happens.
with it too. But yeah, I'm happy to report that I did get some sleep
That's good.
yesterday. Um,
Some
it's
sleep's
a
better than no sleep.
Yes, it's a big day in both our households. I will
Right.
let you explain yours soon, but in mine, yesterday was the 13th anniversary of the day my Beaver sweetie and I met,
Right.
and today is basically um, our anniversary because we met, and the next day we were holding hands, and we've been together ever since. So,
You had a yesterday was the meat-iversary.
yes, and today is the day we decided, yeah, we're going to make a go of this.
Well, the funny thing is when you say meat-iversary, it sounds kind of
Yes,
but it's an MEET. Settle down, folks.
yes. Well, see, and in our subcultures. The
Well,
other one
yes, of
is
course, yes. Well, and then, of course, thinking of that the other day, when I did the thing on Friday, and I was reading from the Toronto Star, and I'm like, "There's so many jokes in here for Mr. Beaver, so many jokes," and they wrote it, and I'm like, they wrote this intentionally. Pierre Poilievre does not have a good grip on his caucus. That was in the Toronto Star. I'm like, oh, that's just too good.
as the beaver sips tea with the finger
Like,
up.
oh, and they must have he just has no control over his caucus. I'm like, oh my,
That's in the Toronto Star?
yeah. If you watch what a Friday show, you can. I read about it. I read that. I
Yeah.
read that article from the Star. It's like, oh boy, wow. They were having fun with that one.
I watched your Friday shows, but I didn't get to watch the last one because, well, I was sick and then I went
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
hospital, so I haven't caught up on that one yet. Oh god. Now it's really on my to-do. It just went up on my to-do list.
Well, and I met right after I read that last one. I'm like, oh, there's so many jokes in there. Mr. Beaver would be just losing it right now.
See, it, thank you for the anniversary gift.
What?
I will go with that. Uh, but it is a very special day at the Grizzly Den as well.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
yesterday was. Let me just pull up. I got a little photograph here. I'm going to put on the screen. It was Lola's 5th birthday, and
Aww.
Bridget was like, "Well, I want to get her a hat and a present," so she bought her an apple with a candle, and there's her birthday hat, which I had no trouble putting on her, but she wasn't really fond of wearing it, so I
Mm.
had to snap a bunch of pictures as quickly as I could.
Hmm.
And this one was I'm going to composite too. I'm going to take Lola out of this one and put her in another one where we can see Bridget, and it's just a better picture. But this is the best I got of Lola because she kept moving around.
Well, right. Yes.
So yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
she's love on 4 legs. I love
it's
it.
5th birthday. Yes.
Happy birthday, Lola.
Yeah. So yeah, she got a steak, a New York strip loin, and then pork chops. I gave her some peas and what else? Oh, potatoes. Yes. And
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, she had a lovely day. Lovely day.
Oh, I love that.
Mm.
Ah, I mean, sh- look,
She doesn't know what birthday
those of
is.
you, yeah, I know, but those of you, clearly you haven't met her, but I've had a chance to meet the wonderful Lola, and she is, she's, you can't help
Well,
but love her. I mean, she just, and especially, I mean, I don't know the ways that she just took to me anyway. I mean, I go to Mr. Grizzly's place and I sit on the couch, and then Lola just sits next to me and then just like plops
plump.
the 90
Yeah.
pounds down. And it's like, you're staying, you're mine, you're my friend. I love you. And it's just like, and it's just, you just feel all the love.
That's dogos, but that's especially Lola. But funny thing, I was reading the other day, and I was talking to somebody who used to have dogos. She had her boy passed after 15 years,
Mhm.
and she was saying dogos imprint themselves upon your soul.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've had lots of dogs in my life, nothing like a dogo. I'm like, I know. They're just a different dog.
Yeah.
They literally imprint themselves on your soul.
Yep.
They're these giant beasts that ah, if you don't know, you won't know until you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like if you want to get your first dog, do not make it a dogo.
Not the first one. No.
No. Start with like a lab and work your way up. And I mean that because dogos are a very much a handful. They are
Mm.
strong prey drive, strong as a bloody ox.
Mm.
They need a dominant owner that can let them know that you're the boss. And I don't like the word owner. Caretaker is what I prefer, because how do
Mhm.
you own a sentient being?
Right.
That's just my take. Um, and that's not being politically correct. That's just who I am.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, yeah, enough about me. Enough about us. Let's talk about the reason we're here today.
Oh, but before, there's just, in case you
Oh,
didn't see it,
oh,
there was some, greetings for, Mademoiselle Fox
oh,
as
yes,
well.
I see.
Just
Okay, there we go.
the message there. All right. Okay. The reason, well, we're here, Remembrance Day, right?
Hmm.
So, let's talk about it. Let's start with the basic stuff, some of the usual stuff that we find out that happens every year. We want to know, what's going on a bit today.
I'm gonna send you a link
Okay.
in the private chat. Whether or not we show this is up to you, but I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake. Sorry, I had to.
Okay. Let's take a look at. Is that for immediately or?
No, it's up to you whether you show it or not. When you have a look at it, you'll understand what I'm saying. I'm like, what?
Okay. Right. Um. Oh. No,
Right?
that's just dumb.
I know. Like,
Yeah.
are you
No.
serious?
We're not wasting time with that.
No, I wanted you to see it though.
That's just dumb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's just it's Remembrance Day related, kits and cubs, but that's just get the hell out of here and stop wasting my time.
Yes.
It's just,
They've hijacked Remembrance Day to suit their own needs, but the
yeah,
worst part of it is they're
yeah, yeah. No, we're not going to waste time with that. Let them do what they do, and
grift.
yeah, that's just we got no time for that.
See my poppy? It's taken a beating. It's paper.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's a paper fiber. So I got caught in the rain and the snow the other day, and it kind of took a beating, and it kept falling off. So I had to use the Canada pin to hold it in place. I didn't have the magnet thing.
okay,
Yeah, I got this at work, and it's paper, which I actually approve of
right.
because the plastic ones, as you know, well, I'll go down to the cenotaph later, and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Everybody lays their poppy on it. That's a lot of plastic, right? And it gets blown about, and this is paper,
Mhm.
biodegradable. It's a treated paper of some type because it holds up quite well, but it's very much paper.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Let's see. Normally, that's really weird. Okay, can't
Yeah, there's
seem
not a
to.
lot right now, right?
Yeah, indeed. I was just looking to see, the schedule of events and stuff like that, what we're looking for and what was being carried. And it's like everything that's coming up is what's open and closed on Remembrance Day. It's like, I don't really care. Oh, man. Um, but yes, obviously, CBC will have its normal feature with the broadcast from the
Mm.
cenotaph. It's going to be some interesting visuals this year because we have snow,
Yes,
and we don't necessarily have that every year.
I don't remember the last time we had snow on Remembrance Day. I honestly
Hmm.
don't. At least, let me rephrase that. I remember not too long ago we had a dusting.
Mm,
Was a proper snow. Like
yes.
there's snow, there's ice, it's packed down, it's still cold, it's not melting anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because it's not it's cold out.
Yeah. So if you're anywhere there where there is snow, please, and if you're tending to go to the ceremonies, please leave a little earlier and drive safely because first snow, first snows of the year, and people are not necessarily used to the winter driving yet. So,
128 accidents in Ottawa on Sunday.
how many?
128. That's not a record, but that's still a lot.
That's significant.
Oh yeah. Well, not everybody's had a chance to put their winter tires on yet, or snow tires, right? So
Indeed.
it's to
Indeed.
be expected, unfortunately.
Yeah. So here from the CBC's Elise Stolte has an article here. It says Remembrance Day is often personal. It's about sacrifice and gratitude for what Canada is today. For many, it's Canada's most somber holiday, Remembrance Day, a day to remember sacrifice. And for many Calgarians, it's still personal. That's what we found when CBC Calgary set up at Fish Creek Library ahead of the holiday. Last week, many residents were already wearing poppies when we asked them, "Who will you be thinking about on Remembrance Day?" And the answers came quickly: my dad, my great uncle, my grandmother, my friend. Remembrance Day was established after the First World War to mark the moment the ceasefire took effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. More than 650,000 Canadians and Newfoundlanders served in that war, erasing a generation in some small towns. Roughly 1.1 million served in the Second World War, a tenth of Canada's population at the time. Since then, many others served in Korea, Afghanistan, and on various peacekeeping missions. That means for Canadians, especially those of a certain age, they knew those who served or still serve, their names, not numbers. Jackie Vincent, a retired school teacher, said Remembrance Day becomes more emotional for her the older she gets. Quote, I will be remembering my father, Jack Sweet, who was an original member of the 1st Special Service Force, a joint Canadian-American task force that was the prototype of the modern Special Services unit, she said. I will remember my mother, who was a member of the Canadian Women's Armed Force stationed here at Grey Barracks, where she was a switchboard operator. Her story is actually memorialized at the military museums. I will remember my father-in-law, who was for 3 years as a member 3 years a member as a navigator of a bomber crew over Europe. I will remember my godmother, who served with my mother in the Canadian Women's Army Corps, and her husband, who was an Air Force Administration officer. And I remember all the young fighter pilots I met during the Cold War who served on routine patrols to protect this country. None of them died in combat, but too many of them died protecting this country because it was dangerous work on those flights. Fish Creek Library, a pyramid structure next to South Center Mall, was busy that day. There was steady traffic past our table, and many of those stopped by had stories to share about the people they're remembering. Gail Carey is remembering her grandfather, Carmen Vassal Edgson. He lived in Edmonton during the First World War. One day he was caught acting drunk and disorderly, she said. Quote, he was given a choice between 3 nights in jail or going overseas. He chose to go overseas, and he was a bicycle courier. He did get injured, and he was honorably discharged when he was in the hospital recovering. That's how he met my grandma, said Carey. He's buried in Edmonton's Beechwood Cemetery. Gil Clausen is remembering his dad, Harry. He served as an airframe mechanic, which meant the family was stationed in bases across Canada and internationally while he was growing up. He had a lot of stories, like about the fellow who was accidentally sucked into an engine and saved by his thick parka. Or how, my God, that must have been terrifying.
Yes, it would have been.
Jeez. Or how when his dad was a camp cook at a winter training base in northern Saskatchewan, he'd have to cook eggs by chopping them in half with a hatchet, letting them thaw upside down on a skittle, then picking out the shells.
Wow.
Quote, yeah, he was always the jokester, said Clausen. Others who knew veterans from those early wars said they rarely, if ever, talked about what they went through. A man who spoke with us recalled sitting with a friend when he opened up with horrible stories of pain, then stopped abruptly and said he had never shared such information before. Another man shared a story of his grandma. Her husband has sent overseas as a carpenter, but then given a rifle and sent to the front lines. He died and left her with 5 kids to raise on her own. He said the families left behind also sacrificed for this country. Anne Morgan said she's remembering her dad, an Air Force pilot who wasn't even posted overseas, and he loved the adventure of his job here. On this Remembrance Day, her feelings of respect will be mixed with concern. Quote, concern about the volatility in the world and how people don't seem able to negotiate and compromise, but become so entrenched that there's no way of achieving a peaceful end to conflict. I think of Ukraine and Russia, how Putin is just so determined, she said. As the morning wore on at Fish Creek, we started to wonder about those who don't know someone personally or who recently moved to the country. So we tweaked our question to ask what people will be thinking about on Remembrance Day instead. Some are thinking about other tragedies. A man from Ireland said he reflects on all the lives lost in the Northern Ireland conflict, which ran from the 1960s to 1990s. An immigrant from Iraq reflected on all the chaos and pain caused by repeated conflicts in that region, said Canada is an example to the world, but sometimes it seems we don't fully appreciate what we have. A man originally from China wrote a note on our conversation board saying he appreciates how seriously Canadians take this day of remembrance, more so than he sees in his home country. Wow, that's an interesting
No kidding.
take. Yeah. A young man from Eritrea said he thinks of his grandfather on Remembrance Day and that he wants to go back to join the military. For Jude, I'm going to have trouble with this one. Jude Idiorikia Kim Wen moved from Nigeria 11 years ago, Remembrance Day is for gratitude. Quote, we are able to come to Canada because Canada is safe. I think about people who served in the armed forces who prioritized the nation ahead of self-interest, he said. Everyone can serve in their own different way, but in the end, we're serving to make sure Canada is a great community. Canada is great because people made it great by their sacrifices.
Oh,
I like that line because that's true,
mhm.
so true. It's so true. And that's why it's a day of solemn gratitude to recognize, acknowledge, and be grateful for the sacrifices of so many who fought and their families and those who supported. But particular for those who gave absolutely everything
Mhm. Well,
so that Canada could be the country that we cherish so much today.
it's one of those
Sir?
things where calling it a holiday is it's not the right term. It's a day
It's a
of
day of
remembrance.
observance.
Yeah, it's not a yes. I'm not working today because of my current position, but most people in Ontario and Quebec are at work today. It is a
Mhm.
statutory federal holiday, but not a provincial one, which is complicated. So New Brunswick, it is a statutory day.
Mhm.
Many provinces it's a statutory day, but it ended in Ontario in 1984. That was the last time it was a statutory day, and there's been calls for last 20 years to reinstate it, and I don't know why it hasn't been done. Honestly, because in Ottawa for sure, thousands of people. I will see them shortly when I head down to the cenotaph. It's just down the end of my street here, on one block over, and thousands of people will be there,
Mhm.
as there are every year. You can't if you don't get there by 10 o'clock, you're not getting close.
Mhm.
It's as simple as that. And it doesn't matter the weather. People turn up and turn out
Yep.
every single year.
Yep.
So it makes me question, why has the provincial government of Ontario not reinstituted it? Because it was for decades. And then they took it away because they said, not enough people are remembering, not enough people are. I'm like, okay, fine. Except times have changed.
Mhm.
We do
Mhm.
remember. And the other thing is, we were in a war not that long ago.
Mhm.
We
True.
lost soldiers. They fought and died.
Right.
So come on.
Yeah. The excuse that often gets used is, well, the kids should be in school learning about Remembrance Day, not treating it as a holiday and jetting off. And it's like, whatever. But Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec are the only three provinces where the day is not a statutory holiday.
Right.
And they
One
are
of the
everywhere
three.
else. Yeah.
Everywhere else is, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Labrador recognize the day under separate legislation, actually. So, which is
Well,
kind of interesting.
when we moved from Ottawa to Miramichi, New Brunswick back in summer of '84, I was moving to a familiar place. It's my mom's hometown, and I'm related to half the place. But uh, in Ontario, that fall, there was no Remembrance Day observance, as in you were going to school. Period. You were in school. You were at work. That was it. It was changed. But when I got to New Brunswick, they're like, "Oh no, it's." We go down to the cenotaph. And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Uh, because in Ontario, it's not a statutory holiday anymore. And I
Mm.
still statutory day, I think is the best term to use in that sense, because it's not a holiday. You say holiday, it's like mirth and merriment and fun times and sandy beach and,
Yeah, I think of Madonna holiday.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not what it is, nor is it meant to be.
Indeed,
I
indeed.
will go down to the cenotaph, and then I will meet some friends for a pint of Guinness. I think I'm gonna go with the virgin Guinness today, I think, because
Mm,
I have work to do this
mhm.
afternoon for this show, when I get home. So, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
probably just stick with the virgin Guinness today.
yeah. I might go down to the memorial center's not that far away, and there's usually something
Mm,
there in the morning, so I might go check that out this morning as well. But I also love watching the ceremony, just live. I mean, I would go when I was in Ottawa, but now that I'm not there, I kind of it's kind of a twofer for me. I get to do the Remembrance Day, but I kind of feel a little close to home as well when I watch
mhm,
it. Right. I'm noticing here that some of the kids and cubs are sharing stuff of their own what Remembrance Day. And please, kids and cubs in the chat, do share what the day means for you and who it is that you are remembering, because that definitely matters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there we go. Um, Good. Hopefully, over the course of the show, we'll be able to show a few and read a few here. Yeah. Oh, Kid Nona Carol is mentioning that, and that is true. That I think not sure if that's new for this year or if it started a while ago, but there's now the tap donation service for
Yes.
veterans that started, which was really. I think that's a smart idea.
Well,
Why not?
I had, when you go to say a Tim Hortons, for example, they have a tap function to donate to Tim Hortons children's charities,
Right.
Camp Hortons or whatever. And I suggested to somebody, I said that would be a great idea for poppy boxes because not everybody has cash anymore.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, you know how many poppy boxes there are?
Yeah.
So
That's a lot of tap things.
well, you
That's a big
figure the
investment.
cost of implementing that is tremendous.
Yeah.
And they all have to have I think they're just battery operated if memory serves. I can't, but they need to connect, so it needs to be Wi-Fi connected, and it's not cheap to implement. It's a
Yeah.
great idea, but until you can make it cost effective, because it's a charity, right? So unless you have the folks who develop that technology donate it, and how many poppy boxes are there distributed in the country?
Oh, I don't
A
know. That's a
million?
good question. Yeah.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's probably a fact. The Legion could probably tell you how many get distributed throughout the country. It's a good question, and I like. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yes, I have seen some tap boxes as well. Yes, um, it just if they were all capable of taking tap would be great, but how do you implement that, and what is the cost involved?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
the
says
thing.
here, yeah, I see the number of traditional poppy boxes is not specified, but there are thousands of them distributed across Canada. In addition, more than 2,300 tap-enabled pay tribute boxes are distributed in partnership with RBC, with
Okay,
thousands more traditional boxes available. Oh,
okay.
there you go. Well, at least we know how
Yeah,
many. And
it says it's a
there are
small
$5
battery and a SIM
donations.
card, pennies to build. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I
Okay.
was just guessing, right? So I don't know, but if
I
that's
would
the
have
case,
assumed it. Yeah, I would have assumed it was more expensive.
mhm, mhm.
Absolutely.
But if
Okay.
RBC has put out 2,300 of them, that's good on them because I mean they obviously can
Yeah.
afford it. But,
However, I did find, according to the Royal Canadian Legion, the Legion's 2025 National Poppy Campaign is launching on October 31st, and volunteers across the country are ramping up their efforts. What can be expected for the 2025 Poppy Campaign? Traditional poppy boxes will be available at thousands of locations around the country, as well as tap-enabled donation poppy boxes. Canadians will be able to donate online as well as get their poppies delivered directly to them via Amazon. I did not know that. And
oh,
coming back again this year will be Poppy Stories. Through this wonderful initiative, people can scan a lapel poppy with a smartphone at poppystories.ca and be taken to discover meaningful short stories about the everyday Canadians who dedicated their lives to serving our country. Huh, interesting. But it says here that more than 18 million poppies and 70,000 wreaths and crosses are distributed across Canada and overseas annually.
wow.
It is a big operation.
Hmm. Very.
Wow, good. But yeah, I'm, of course, uh, we don't even think about it. We just like see the poppies and we just like get it,
Exactly.
right? Because it's just what we do here. It's part of being Canadian. It's just something that we do. Um, there's some interesting stories here. One is kind of merges Remember with science. According to Murray Brewster, who reports on a lot of things and military for CBC, it's often said no one has ever truly died as long as you remember them and speak their name. It's more complicated, but nonetheless true for Canada's unknown soldier, who was laid to rest under the frozen, watchful gaze of his great war comrades at the foot of the country's National War Memorial in the heart of the nation's capital. A casualty of the First World War whose identity remains a deliberate mystery, his life was snuffed on a distant French battlefield more than a century ago. A victim as much as a powerful symbol, the unknown soldier represents I can't say that word, in anonymity, all of the lives that vanished in the fog and fire of war. He is a soldier whose duty to the country never ends. His face, his name, the very essence of his individuality, all of the aspects that make us human were stripped away in the figurative and sometimes literal charnel house of the Western Front in the name of a king and country in a war we hardly remember today. There was a time when, to paraphrase the immortal poem In Flanders Fields, he lived, felt dawn, saw the sunset glow, loved and was loved by a family who went to their own graves, never knowing his fate. As Canada begins to rearm and other nations jockey for advantage and supremacy across the globe, we are once again forced to ponder the unthinkable, the possibility that we are on the cusp of another major war.
Mm.
Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine has demonstrated that absent a nuclear apocalypse, prolonged warfare and great slaughter on an industrial scale is still possible in the 21st century. In the quarter century since Canada's unknown soldier was laid to rest in Ottawa, DNA technology has proliferated and woven scientific certainty into the fabric of our lives in ways previous generations could never have imagined. That gives rise to the question, if there is a future war, will there ever be another unknown soldier? More pointedly, would Canadians ever even accept a modern unknown soldier? And would families today be content not knowing the fate of a loved one?
That's a
The
good
answer
question.
is not likely.
Yeah.
The war in Afghanistan and decades of peacekeeping missions were different experiences for Canadians. Casualties came home to their families, unlike in the world wars. Given the faces and names back, Giving the faces and names back to Canada's approximately 29,000 missing and unidentified soldiers from the wars of the previous century is the mission of the Department of National Defense's Casualty Identification Program, which was established in 2007. It focuses on newly found skeletal remains and pre-existing unknown graves of Canadian soldiers, all of them predating 1970. As a consequence, Renee Davis, a Defense Department historian, spends a lot of time in cemeteries looking for unknown soldiers. She helps compile the research in the identification process. Quote, each of these stones represents a person, Davis said on a recent walk through Canada's National Military Cemetery at Beechwood in Ottawa. She pointed to the different crests and the slightly different shades that are in the grave markers. From the headstones, you can actually tell their entire story, and that speaks volumes to remembering who they are. Canada and the United States are the most active Western nations when it comes to trying to identify war dead from conflicts of the previous century. Both the United Kingdom and France maintain their own programs, but within stricter limits, especially when it comes to the use of DNA testing. In Germany, it is left up to the nonprofit Volksbund Deutsche Kriegsgrabvorsorge, German War Graves Commission, which has been working for decades to find, exhume, identify, and rebury German soldiers across Europe. The commission estimates more than 2 million German soldiers remain unaccounted for. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
The forensic anthropologist who is part of Canada's casualty identification team says that while she understands and respects the symbolism, she often personally wrestles with the concept of the unknown soldier. Quote, it is the complete opposite of what my job is, Sarah Lockyer said in a recent interview with CBC News. Quote, it is a complete opposite of one of the major points of forensic anthropology, of being able to identify unknown individuals and return their names and faces to them. It goes completely against that. And admittedly, I still struggle with having had to do the exact opposite of what my field sort of requires. While it is scientifically possible to identify the unknown soldier, Canada agreed when the body was returned in May 2000 not to conduct DNA testing. The Commonwealth War Graves Commission only gives up its war dead in unknown graves as long as the countries accepting them swear no effort will be made at identification. Quote, the unknown soldier was exhumed from Cabaret Rouge near Vimy Ridge and was brought back to Ottawa, said Davis. They went out of their way to make sure that it was a relatively randomized selection of individuals who would be the final candidates before actively deciding who would be the one to be exhumed and returned home. And the reason for that is that they truly wanted to ensure that he was going to be an unknown soldier in perpetuity, that he could not be identified. No one wanted to get into the painful situation the United States found itself in during the 1990s when the identity of the Vietnam-era unknown soldier in that country was revealed through family pressure and DNA testing. Quote, I don't think that anyone who was involved in the creation of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in the United States ever imagined a moment when this sort of technology would exist, said Stephen Trout, a history professor at the University of Alabama, who has written extensively on war and remembrance. I think that the existing tombs of unknown soldiers in various nations will remain, and I think they will continue to have powerful symbolic value. I'm certainly not an expert on forensics or the kind of medical technology that's currently being used, but it seems to me quite doubtful that we will have any unknowns in the future wars. One of the last tombs to be established was in Newfoundland in 2024. An unidentified soldier was brought home after more than a century of resting in French soil, a representative of the more than 800 Newfoundlanders who are missing and presumed dead in the world wars. Phil Ralph, a retired captain and military padre, said he doesn't believe the unknown soldier will lose any of its symbolic power, even though future casualties will not share his anonymity. Quote, the unknown soldier himself is that touch point for everyone because it could have been any of us, said Ralph, who is now with the Wounded Warriors Canada, which provides mental health services to veterans. However, he can put himself in the shoes of the soldier's family. I would be opposed to anyone trying to find out who the unknown soldier is that's buried under a national war memorial because it's such a powerful symbol. But on the other hand, I'm a dad, and if it was my child, I would want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, interesting there. So science, technology, been coming together with this kind of sort of. So I didn't even know there was an identification service within the Canadian military.
Oh no, I knew about that.
I didn't know that.
I don't know. I would imagine that most Canadians wouldn't know about it. I mean, I'm sort of privy to it because
Well, yeah,
grew up with it,
yeah, indeed. Oh, interesting. As well, kits and cubs, very, very, very important to note that it's not just that is important, but on the 8th of the month, it was Indigenous Day as well,
Yes.
which is, and I didn't get to mention it on the show, as again, I don't had a show. I think the 8th was the Friday, which was the day that we didn't have a show. But come on, work with me here. Okay, let's try this again. Computer. There we go. One more time. There we go. According to the True Patriot Love Foundation, November 8, Canadians pay tribute to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who have served in Canada in times of war and peace for more than 200 years, from the War of 1812 to both World Wars to Afghanistan, and who continue to serve. National Aboriginal Veterans Day, or Indigenous Veterans Day, National Aboriginal Veterans Day, as it was then called, was first observed in Winnipeg on November 8, 1994. It has since spread nationwide. It is now known as Indigenous Veterans Day. There are some 20,000 Indigenous veterans and more than 2,700 Indigenous members who currently serve in Canada's military forces. And then it says here, thousands of Indigenous people proudly served in uniform during the First and Second World Wars and the Korean War. Many Indigenous communities also contribute to our country's war efforts in other ways. However, despite their service at home and sacrifice on the front lines, Indigenous veterans were subject to repeated injustices and discrimination. The Government of Canada expropriated hundreds of thousands of acres of reserve lands during this era. Some of the land was also taken and given to non-Indigenous people as part of a program that granted farmland to returning veterans, a reestablishment program that was typically denied to Indigenous veterans. Often they were denied access to the full benefits and supports given to other veterans, making their transition back to civilian life even harder. Other veterans had to give up their First Nation status to receive benefits.
Wow.
Jeez. Decades of activism, and protest led to a formal apology from the federal government in 2002, plus compensation for First Nations veterans. In 2019, Métis veterans also received an apology and a promise of compensation in acknowledgement that they also were not allowed to receive the same benefits and reintegration support as other Canadians after the war. On October 30th, 2025, the Chief of the Defense Staff, General Jenny Carignan, and the Canadian Armed Forces Chief Warrant Officer Bob McCann delivered an apology on the behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces to current and former Canadian Armed Forces members, as well as their families who suffered from the impacts of systemic racism, racial discrimination, and racial harassment during their military service. And if you saw the clips of that, the Chief of the Defense Staff was extremely choked up.
I did watch the clip. I did watch the program live. I was at work at the time, and I thought it was very, very well done. I had a friend, a retired military personnel veteran, who had a very interesting take. I'm not gonna read it to you, but a different take and an interesting one, and one that is lived experience. That's all I'm going to say. It was hard. It was hard to read, and at the same token, I thought, well, no, you have the right to say those things, and you have that experience, so you would know better than I would. So who am I to say a damn thing? I can't even comment on it. But it was a fascinating take on it. How the gist of it was, yeah, we've heard this before, same old song and dance, nothing ever changes, nothing ever gets done. To that, in that sort of milieu. So this is somebody who has been down, this is also a woman, by the way, who has been down that pathway and again has said, nothing has ever been done. Hopefully it'll change, but doubts it, because a 30-year career in the military, she has a different take, right?
Right. On Indigenous,
I'll be right back.
Okay. On Indigenous Veterans Day, we honor the service, the struggle, the courage, and the sacrifice of all who serve at home, around the world, and across generations. And then the True Patriot Love Foundation says how you can get involved. Make the historical personal. The lives and experiences of individuals who served can get lost in the overwhelming sweep of history. You can deepen your appreciation of their sacrifice by making a personal connection. Here are just two examples. Using AI, Indigenous soldier George Stonefish's letter home from the battlefield was transformed into a haunting image as part of True Patriot Love's Remastered Memories project. Get to know a Canadian Cree veteran, Charles Checker Tompkins, in the documentary Cree Code Talker, which features Indigenous veterans' eyewitness accounts of Code Talkers' contributions in securing victory in World War II. Or pay tribute in person. In our nation's capital, you can pause to reflect at the National Aboriginal Veterans Monument in Ottawa. Erected in 2001, it is a tribute to the dedication and sacrifice of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from coast to coast to coast who served on the front lines. The Sergeant Tommy Prince Memorial in Winnipeg, Manitoba commemorates the life and service of this residential school survivor who became a soldier with the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry and won the Military Medal. The Nipissing First Nation Cenotaph in Garden Village, Ontario is dedicated to those who lost their lives, who served in any capacity, and those who continue to serve. The Francis Pengamagabo Monument in Parry Sound, Ontario commemorates his service in the First World War. A highly decorated soldier, Pegamagabo, served as counselor and later chief of the Wasauksing First Nation, as well as becoming an early activist in the national Indigenous rights movement. Invictus Games Vancouver Whistler 2025 welcomed 534 competitors from 23 nations to experience the first ever Winter Games in Invictus Games history. The games were held on the traditional territories of the Liwat, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Artists Levi Nelson of Lilwat Nation, Olivia George of Tsleil-Waututh Nation, Mac Paul of Musqueam Nation, and Ray Natraro of Squamish Nation worked together to create and design the visual identity for the games. Levi Nelson also designed the medals for the 2025 Invictus Games. This was a first-of-its-kind inclusive initiative for the Invictus Games, as well as the First Nations involved, as they developed one comprehensive identity to represent each of the nations. In the days leading up to the Games, a team of Canadian and international service people and veterans went on an expedition organized by True Patriot Love to carry the Invictus flag through each of the host nations. And kids and cubs, I do have here for you couple of moments from what uh, the chief of the defense staff, Jenny Carringell, had to say with regard. Hey, you know what? This is simply um, a CBC reporting here. It was posted as something that it would be her specifically. So did not. I thought I had something for you here, but there it is. I have it here. This is the one. So I'm going to show it here for you, kids and cubs. Picture quality is fantastic, but hopefully uh, the message will carry regardless.
In the history of the Canadian Armed Forces, and it is also a very difficult day. A day of which we are confronting a painful truth. That our institution caused harm to countless people it was meant to support and respect. Our great institution stands on a foundation of fundamental values, values that should be in turn manifest in the daily words and deeds of every one of our members. Systemic racism, racial discrimination, and harassment are an affront to these values, and yet we allowed these injustices to occur and fester within our ranks. And as individuals, whether this stemmed from ignorance, indifference, complacency, or complicity, is not an excuse. It was a clear betrayal of everything we stand for. Therefore, on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, I offer my most sincere and deepest apologies. I apologize to every CAF member, veteran who experienced racism, discrimination, and harassment. And I acknowledge we failed you. To every single member of the Canadian Armed Forces at every rank level, on every base, wing, station, operation, and deployment, I say today's apology is a milestone in our history. But it is just that. It's a milestone, and it does not represent an end point. It is a path we have set ourselves on along a difficult and much longer journey that we must undertake together. A journey of reflection and of self-awareness, of understanding and allyship.
As you can tell, they're kids and cubs. Very, that was a composite of what is that she said on the day. But, having difficulty getting it out, choking up. And if you were paying, you could actually hear in the audience people sobbing.
Indeed.
She said that with her full chest.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And she meant it. I have no question, no doubt in my mind whatsoever. Yeah. How do they follow up? What happens after this? I don't know. It's not up to me to determine. I'm just a tiny cog in a big machine.
Yeah. Some specific news that came out earlier this morning. There is going to be a bit of a difference in today's ceremonies because, as you know, the Governor General is I can't remember top of my head, it's just escaped me what her military position is. She's not the commander in chief. That's the United States. Ah,
Chief of Defense Staff?
no, the governor general.
Oh, Governor General.
Yeah, she's militarily, right? Because I remember when the governor general, Mary
She's the head of
Simon.
state.
Yeah, but she has military medals,
Yes.
right? Because she has a specific role with the military, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But the governor general is there every year for
Oh, yes.
Remembrance Day. So she's the I guess the head count, something like that. I'll look it up and find the proper title there for her. But she will not be there this year. And before you start hearing a whole bunch of rumors and people trying to, you know,
Be smart.
create some scandal or conspiracy theories, um, uh, she, she is taken ill. We do not know with what, and therefore she will not be on the ceremonies today. I believe, if I am not mistaken, that she will be represented by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
Okay, that would
Uh,
make sense. Yes.
yeah, but she's hospitalized with a virus, and she will not be able to attend. So again, it's not going to be a situation. Oh my God, she's so disrespectful or anything. According to the Canadian press, Governor General Mary Simon is recovering in hospital from a respiratory virus, leaving her unable to preside over the National Remembrance Day ceremony in Ottawa Tuesday, Rideau Hall said Monday. Chief Justice Richard Wagner will fill in for the King's representative in Canada at the National War Memorial. It's rare that the Governor General would not preside over the national ceremony, but routine that the Chief Justice would stand in for her, since he also serves as her Deputy Governor General. See, I did not know that the Chief Justice served as the Deputy Governor General. I'm learning some
Today I
civics.
learned.
Yeah,
Today I learned.
I'm learning some civics. Rideau Hall did not specify the virus or say how long Simon 78 has been in hospital. Quote, the Governor General is doing well and is recovering in hospital, said Marilène Guévremont, a spokesperson for Rideau Hall. We appreciate your understanding and respect for her privacy at this time. We will not be commenting further on that. Instead, Wagner will join this year's National Silver Cross mother, Nancy Payne, as she lays a wreath on behalf of Canadian mothers who lost their children due to military service. Prime Minister Mark Carney, Chief of the Defense Staff General Jenny Carignan, Veterans Affairs Minister Jill McKnight, and other dignitaries will also attend the ceremony at the cenotaph. Simon, known as a longtime advocate for Inuit rights, has been Governor General since July 2021, when she was appointed to the role following a toxic workplace scandal that led to the resignation of her predecessor, former astronaut Julie Payette. This Remembrance Day comes 80 years after the end of the Second World War, which ended in Europe on May 8, 1945, and in the Pacific on August 15th that year. I suspect that means that there will probably be a lot more people, because the fives and the tens usually bring a lot more people. So a lot of people make a point of coming on those years. Yeah, this year also marks 25 years since the entombment of Canada. Oh, I didn't know it's the 25th year of Canada's unknown soldier.
2001.
Yeah,
I was there for that.
Yeah, me too. A tribute to the fallen First World War soldier who remains unidentified. During a recent flurry of snowy weather, the Department of National Defense said Monday that its regular flypasts still have the green light to go ahead. CF-18 fighter jets will soar above the National War Memorial and Beechwood Cemetery in Ottawa, with a variety of others scheduled across the country involving different aircraft, from CC-295 Kingfisher search and rescue aircraft over cities through British Columbia to a CH-148 Cyclone chopper fly past over Halifax. So there you have that. As well, kids and cubs, unfortunately, with every Remembrance Day, now seems to have come a new tradition
Oh,
that I do not like.
something
But
tells me I'm going to be upset.
you are going to be upset. And I was planning to do the show today, saying, wow, at least this year, with what's going on with the Conservative Party of Canada on the bottom falling out and all that kind of stuff, they didn't have time to do this year. But this morning I woke up and then saw it. They found time.
Of course they did.
They found time. So the annual Conservative tradition of lying, and I choose the word specifically, lying, because that's what it is,
Mhm.
about a Remembrance Day prayer ban.
Yeah, that's
Is
not
back.
a thing. Not a thing.
Yeah.
Not a thing. It's a lie. Blatant lie.
Yeah.
Bald-faced, blatant lie. It's not a thing. It was never banned. Ever.
And we've done this now twice on our show.
Mhm.
I think where we've shown we are not going to do it again when we do some recap of it tomorrow. But just my personal opinion,
Mhm.
I have a feeling you might share it with me, Mr. Grizzly, but I believe that the members of the Conservative Party of Canada, and all their minions and media sycophants and everybody who does this type of thing, totally dishonor, trash,
Mhm.
piss all over
Yeah.
the memories of those who gave everything when they use them, their service, their memory, for fraudulent purposes, from which they fundraise, by the way, off of which they fundraise. It has never been true that there's a Remembrance Day prayer ban. Every year, we see them praying, and yet they still do it every freaking damn year.
Of course they will.
It
Because they
is
don't, again, this is not
gross.
a group of politicians. This is a group of drunken frat boys having a frat party who think everything is funny, and they need to belittle everybody else beneath them because they feel everybody is beneath them. This is who they are.
Yeah.
They nothing is sacred to these people. Nothing.
Yeah. So, according to Mohammed of the National Pest,
Mm.
because
That's appropriate. Yes.
yeah, it is. Hold on, I'll have to go to an alternative route to get that here, and of course, it's not there, so I cannot read that in to the record for you. I was going to read it into the record to see what it is that they were saying today. But oh, wait a minute. There we go. We have it. Conservatives are calling for the reversal of and then it again. So okay, I can't.
Sometimes technology doesn't want to work to your favor or to your advantage.
Yeah, it's the article appeared and then it vanished again. So it is behind some type of paywall. But yeah, conservatives call for reversal of military's Remembrance Day prayer ban. The directive issued in October 2023 compels military chaplains to carefully choose words that are inclusive to all assembled, including atheists, which means because the prayer is not to the Christian God only, therefore it is a prayer ban, they call it.
You know, Jamil's going to be all over this shit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both Christian persecution and liberal racism, two things that are not actually happening.
Right?
Let's just make things up nowadays to sell our brand of fascism.
Yeah. You know what? I have found it through an alternative means. The news for doing what the National Pest will not. Conservatives are calling for the reversal of a military directive they say inappropriately censors religious speech at public commemorations. New Brunswick Conservative MP Mike Dawson, please resign, said it was an affront to the memory of the fallen that the Chaplain General's 2023 direction on chaplain spiritual reflection in public settings is still in place. Quote, I am ashamed that our government intends to restrict public expressions of faith in our military, or in plain terms, to ban prayer. It is cowardice to ask our sons and daughters to put themselves in harm's way, but refuse them the right to express their faith in God. To deny those who provide our freedom the right to openly pray is an insult to those who never came home, Dawson told the House of Commons. Yeah, that's not the insult to those who never came home, honey boo boo. The directive. Go ahead, Mr. Grizzly.
Well, I was going to say the other thing that they seem to fail to acknowledge, because that would never happen, is that a lot of soldiers who have served in the theater of combat aren't exactly what you would call believers.
Mm.
Not all. Many still do, but many just don't, because what they have seen and witnessed firsthand has destroyed their faith or belief system to the point where now you're saying they can't do this when that's not even the case. And you've never taken into account that many of them don't want it to begin with. That never gets accounted for. Then I'm just saying, who's speaking for those folks?
Right. Indeed. The directive, the directive issued by then Chaplain General JLG Guy Belil in October 2023 compels chaplains to carefully choose words that are inclusive to all assembled, including atheists. The order also restricts chaplains from wearing so-called faith tradition scarves, bearing religious symbols like crosses and crescent moons at military ceremonies, mandating that all wear identical scarves adorned with the religiously neutral Royal Canadian Chaplain Service crest. Yes, because the military has people of all faiths and no faiths within it. People keep on forgetting. We had Sikh, was it battalions or?
Yes, during World War I and II. Yes.
Yeah. So
well documented.
They're not praying to the same God that
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's this group of reformicons who believe that no, there is only one God, and it's ours, and you have to accept it because anything else is verboten or
because Canada's a Christian nation.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. And only we matter.
Yeah. And that's what they're saying. Only we matter.
Yeah.
Only us.
On this day.
Which makes one wonder what would happen, like Tim Uppel.
Yeah.
Who is a member of the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
And you see him in the House of Commons frequently. He speaks in the House of Commons frequently.
Yeah.
He's sick. He wears his turban.
Yeah.
I wonder what his take on that is.
Right.
I could guarantee you he's not allowed to say a damn thing about it. CARE wouldn't allow that. We cannot have dissension in our ranks.
Belil said the changes were necessary following the Supreme Court of Canada's Saguenay decision in 2015, which found the state has a duty to uphold religious neutrality in public settings. So, again, it's a Supreme Court decision, but the Conservatives never mentioned that, right? Hey, military, just reverse it and break the law. Let's honor our veterans by pretending that prayer is banned and then asking the military to violate the law, defy the Supreme Court, and defile the Constitution for Remembrance Day.
Yes.
This is my unimpressed face. Again, this is not a serious party. This is not a party that cares about governance. It's just fundraising, marketing, fundraising.
They do not want to govern. They want to control you.
And here's the thing. Every dollar they fundraise off pretending, cosplaying that prayer is banned is a dollar that does not go to the legions.
No. It doesn't go to the legions. It doesn't go to whatever religion that they're trying to, in quotation marks here, protect. It goes directly into their coffers.
The then Chaplain General tempered. So there we go. The then Chaplain General. The then Chaplain General tempered his own Remembrance Day address at Ottawa's National War Memorial last year, prefacing his remarks as a reflection rather than a prayer. Reverend Dr. Andrew Bennett, head of faith community engagement at Faith-Based, I cannot speak today, Reverend Dr. Andrew Bennett, head of faith community engagement at faith-based think tank Cardis, says the directive misses the mark of religious neutrality by putting irreligion ahead of religiosity. Quote, to say that the Canadian Armed Forces chaplains cannot speak about God or cannot pray at public ceremonies or remembrance is showing a lack of understanding of who is in the armed forces, men and women who serve this country, many of whom are religious and live out their faith, but not all, sir. They don't put their faith aside when they join the armed forces, and so it is perfectly fitting that it's ceremonies of remembrance when we remember the dead who are fallen for this country. Conservative defense critic James Bazan, who should know better, echoed these sentiments in an email to the National Post, and he should know better because he's been a defense critic for God knows how long.
Yeah.
He's the permanent one. Quote, we should be encouraging Canadian Armed Forces chaplains of all faiths to offer benedictions and prayers rather than order them to exclude faith-based prayers from their public remarks, wrote Bazan. Bennett says that faith has long been tied to military service, pointing to old adage, there are no atheists in foxholes. The directive dishonors those men and women who fell for this country in combat when they were in the trenches at the Battle of Somme or when they were fighting in the Pacific Theater at the fall of Hong Kong. You don't think that they were praying that they would survive and see another day? Said Bennett. Yes, they were probably praying, but they were probably not all praying to the same. There are people who pray and just say, oh, please help me. And it's not necessarily to God.
No. Could be to the flying spaghetti monster for all we know.
Praying to the universe. To fate.
The ancestors. Please don't do that if you're a white person. Please don't pray to the ancestors if you're a white person. Please. I beg of you.
Well, I mean, I guess you can pray to your, but not in the same sort of way that Indigenous people pray to ancestors. Right?
No.
Bennett says it is entirely in the power of now Chaplain General Colonel Lisa Pekarinuk to reverse the directive. No, it is not. It is law.
Mm-hmm.
Pekarinuk assumed the role in May, becoming Canada's first female Chaplain General. Retired fifth-generation Canadian Forces veteran Bonnie Critchley, yes, who ran as an independent candidate in the recent Battle River Crowfoot by-election, said she felt the criticisms of the new directive were overblown, saying that it's only natural for military protocol to change with the attitudes of those who serve. Quote, your spirituality is your own thing. Religion tends to get messy. Yeah, and I'm not a religious person. I am a spiritual person. My own spirituality is my own. I absolutely do appreciate a spiritual tone versus a religious one, said Critchley, who retired in 2021 after 22 years of military service. A spokesperson for Veterans Affairs Minister Jill McKnight directed a National Post inquiry to the Chaplain General, who couldn't be reached for comment. And she probably won't.
No.
Because why bother?
Agreed.
The conservatives.
I hate to depart early, sir, but I have a very impatient puppy dog right now. Normally, I take her out at 4:30, and it is now 8:20, so she's pushing.
She's ready.
Yeah, she's definitely ready. So I do have to take my leave, but I hope everybody gets an opportunity to remember in the only way, in the way that is suitable to them. I'm not telling anybody how to remember or how to show respect. That is entirely up to you. It is a personal decision. I will be heading down to the Cenotaph here in Ottawa, and then I will be meeting with some friends and veterans at the Lieutenant's Pump afterwards for a Guinness. Of course, I will be having a Virgin Guinness today. Something tells me there might be a whiskey in my future, though. I can pretty much guarantee that. Either way, remember in the way that you wish to and honor in the way that you wish to. That is good with you. I'm not telling anybody how to do it. How you do it is up to you. Everybody has their own methods and their own manners, and you are entitled to do that. That is the purpose that they fought for.
Yeah.
It literally is. You could remember in the manner that you want. Nobody's going to dictate to you how you wish to remember. Is this a day of nationalism? No, it's a day of remembrance. Some people are trying to turn it into a day of nationalism. It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
It's remembering the sacrifices that those who came before us made so that we would have the ability to sit here and do exactly what we're doing.
Yeah. It's a little bit of
speak freely about the government that we like or dislike.
Yeah. It's a little bit of stolen valor too, right?
Yes, it absolutely
Taking
is.
their valor and then trying to give valor. They're trying to say, look how much valor we have for standing up. But it's all lies.
Mhm.
I do
And the
not
fact
know
that you
why
would
they
do
think.
this,
Pardon, sir?
the fact that the Reformicons do this and use Veterans and Remembrance Day as a cudgel to push their message is beyond disgusting.
That's a prop. This is when you use the word despicable, Pierre.
Yes. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Anyway,
Please give my best to the people that you will be meeting with today.
I will. I will. And you take care. Good to see everybody. Have yourself the best Remembrance Day you can and honor in the way that you choose. I'll see you later.
Love you, brother.
We do.
Hi. Okay. Now, kids and cubs, if you're a little like me right now, let's take a deep cleansing breath. Breathe in inner peace. Breathe out. All right. Let's see if we have anything here. We have Kit Sharon saying, and we should try very hard to keep that democracy alive so our veterans didn't fight for nothing. Yes, I agree. I agree very, very, very much. That's a very well stated sentiment. Kid Grace, remembering family from the Netherlands, so it hits hard. Oh, no, they have family from the Netherlands, so it hits hard, mom and dad and grandparents. Yeah, and of course, as many Canadians know, we have a very, very, very special relationship with the Netherlands. Our two countries are like this. And um, I've been to the Netherlands a couple of times, but I haven't been to one of the places where soldiers are buried, and I haven't gone on. I'd like to go one time because I know there's a day or an occasion on the calendar where everybody comes out to honor, and it would be nice as a Canadian to be there and witness that one day. And it's something that's on my bucket list. From Kit CL, who's with us here. For me, it's remembering my brothers who checked out on their own terms. Ooh, okay, that's Kit Christian, by the way, CL. Um, wow, jeez. Kit Sharon here. The saddest video I've ever seen was a veteran seeing what is going on in the world and crying, saying his friends didn't die so this can happen again. It was truly, wow. Kit playing with 3D. I'm old, so nearly all my uncles served from both sides of the family. Dad tried to lie at the age of 13 to join, but they caught him. 13? Wow. Kid Sharon, I wish I was 30 years younger. I would be first in line to join our military right now to protect our country and what these men and women fought and died for. In the US, according to Kit Uncover here, U.S. quietly removes memorial to Black World War II soldiers at Netherlands American Cemetery. Excuse me, I have to take a moment there. Okay. Wow. Wow. Just, I can't believe it. Kid playing with 3D. I'm kind of pissed that a war I seen coming 20 years ago is happening now that I'm old and could easily now be a victim of instead of a defender of. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. Kid Christian for Canadian Armed Forces. It's our holiday. Hmm? Indeed. Indeed. Wow. Yeah. Thanks sharing. Thank you for sharing, Kids and Cubs. I'll be scrolling through and seeing if there's more stuff out there that you've got here. Kit, Carol, Nona Carol, family from Holland. They talked about having to eat poppies and other flowers. I did not know that. I did not know that. Miss Shadika here says, Mateo's class learned at Flanders Fields, and they're supposed to read it aloud at school today, but I'm thinking I might keep him home because of the weather. We will watch ceremonies at home, though. Kit Argosy Acres, I enjoy watching the Ottawa service. I really do. Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's a big, like I said, it's a big deal for me. Yeah, apparently, not only did they eat flowers in the Netherlands, but they also ate tulip bulbs. That part I did hear. Kit ill today. Every Remembrance Day, I think of the veterans, their families, and the pride of being Canadian. Today, I also think of Ukrainians and the battle they are fighting for their sovereignty. Yes, yes, indeed. Um, wow. And Kit Grace, farms were raided by the Germans, and all the food went to their soldiers. So that's one of the reasons in the Netherlands that they were eating tulip bulbs. I can't imagine they taste good. But yeah, nutrition is nutrition, I guess. Wow. All right. Let's see here if there's anything else that you have. Kit ill today. I love poppies, but I especially love the pin this year with feathers that represent Indigenous peoples. I haven't seen that, and I wasn't aware of it. I'll have to go look for a visual of that. I'd like to see what it looks like. Um, yeah, Kit Sharon's upset about the removal of the war memorials for Africans by the United States too. So I guess I'm not alone in that feeling. Wow. Okay. Um, wow. Yeah, indeed. Whew. All right. Kit Sharon said, "May I ask why there is a separate day for Indigenous soldiers?" I think the reason is specifically because of the amount of discrimination they suffered uh, when they came back. So when it was finally recognized, when that was recognized, then it was deemed that given all the lack of recognition at the time, they deserved specific recognition now as a way to compensate. Um, that that would be my best educated guess with regard to that. I don't know if that's actually the fact, but that would be my best educated guess with that. Um, Kit Sharon here says, I've spoken with Indigenous people whose grandfather fought for your country, then had their status stripped from them. It was vile. For our country, sorry, not your country. And then their status stripped from them. It was vile. Indeed. Indeed. Wow. Here we have Kid Bucky. There we go. Some knowledge. Yeah, bringing some knowledge. By the way, November 8th was selected to fall just before Remembrance Day, November 11th, allowing space to reflect specifically on Indigenous service without being overshadowed by broader national ceremonies. So there we go. It was to reckon again to give them the recognition that they didn't get then. Kit playing with 3D. Once you lose status, it's not easy to get it back. I was adopted and never knew I was Indigenous, and now that I do, no, it's been full on BS trying to reclaim my heritage. Yeah, I can imagine that's very difficult because they don't want to give that out as little as possible. So yeah, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, and sometimes you still get a no at the end. Whew. Okay. I'm going to pass over the comment here because it is unpleasant and uncalled for. I will Christian here. I've been out 2 years and I still don't have my medal or the rank on retirement I was owed. We all have our personal take. Are you serious, Christian? Wow. I'm I'm I, I'm s- I'm a little floored. I'm a little floored to learn that. That's not right. That is definitely not right. Wow. I can't imagine what that feels like. That's That's patently unfair. Patently unfair. Let's see here. What else do we have here? According to Kit Uncover the... Oh, no, that's not it. That's a different type of stuff, not particularly in theme here. So yeah, all right. So let's keep going with other things, and I'll keep scrolling for comments to see if there's anything else going on here. One of the things we do on Remembrance Day is remember the past and things that have happened. So one of the things I would like to read to you, this is from a Government Canada website, but they have a section of major Second World War battles and campaigns. And I decided I wanted to find out about a battle, some battles that we don't know as much about, and learn about them, right? We know about Vimy Ridge and that type of stuff, but there are other uh, battles that we may not know as much about. And oh, come on, the page cannot be found on a Government of Canada website on Remembrance Day. I am having a day technologically here. Here at the Beaver Lodge, trying to bring you some solemn content. But I was going to try to find out a little more about the Battle of Hong Kong in 1941, but that is not going to be allowed to happen because the page has been moved. I tried to find an alternative source for you. There might be Canadian Encyclopedia or something entry with regard to that. But as an alternative for now, let's go to the Battle of the Atlantic from 1939 to 1945. The war against the U-boats from 1939 to 1945 was the formative experience for the Royal Canadian Navy in the 20th century. Fought largely by reservists in small ships built in Canada and operating from Canadian bases, the defense of North Atlantic trade against the submarine menace defined a naval role for Canada within a much larger alliance. After 1995, the Royal Canadian Navy became the best anti-submarine warfare navy in the world as part of NATO, but it was not an easy or direct path. In 1939, the Royal Canadian Navy expected submarines to be a manageable problem. As Chief of the Naval Staff, Commodore Percy Nels observed in 1939, quote, "If international law is complied with, submarine attacks should not prove serious." However, should submariners again resort to unrestricted attacks, Nels felt that, quote, "The means of combating the submarines are considered to have so advanced that by employing a system of convoy and utilizing air forces, losses to submarines would be very great and might compel the enemy to give up this form of attack." Convoys and air power had reduced the effectiveness of the submarine in 1917-18, but the optimism of naval officers about the submarine problem was fired by the perfection of an ASDIC, now called sonar. This active pinging acoustic location device allowed warships to attack submerged targets effectively. It had never been used extensively under operational conditions, but interwar trials and training suggested that few subs expected to operate inshore and submerged would now escape the deadly combination of ASDIC and depth charges. When the liner SS Athenia was sunk by a U-20 on September 3, 1939, the day the war began, it was assumed that the Germans had resumed an unrestricted submarine campaign against Allied shipping convoys, were instituted immediately. And the first to sail from Halifax, HX-1, left with an escort HMC ships Saguenay and Saint Laurent on September 16th. The destroyers protected the convoy from submarines inshore. Once HX-1 was well out to sea, larger vessels arrived to shield it from surface raiders, a threat which lingered well into 1941. The primary function of the convoy system was safe and timely arrival of the ships, and the object of its passage was avoidance of the enemy. At times, special intelligence called Ultra provided by breaking the German operational codes for the North Atlantic, permitted highly effective routing. But the subs could not always be avoided, and the convoy system provided the focal point for much of the Royal Canadian Navy's war with the U-boats. There was little in the first year of the war to suggest that submarines were a major issue. When the Canadian Navy ordered its initial wartime shipbuilding program in the early 1940s, its main vessel, the corvette, was completed as a jack of all trades, but would prove to be master of none. This included complete minesweeping equipment, a signal magnetic compass, and the most basic of ASTIC, the Type 123A. In 1940, none of this seemed to matter. Under operational conditions, submarines proved remarkably difficult to locate and destroy, but what really confounded the Allies was the adoption of new tactics by Germany's U-boats. In late summer 1940, the U-boats operating from new bases in France began to employ pack attacks on Allied convoys on the high seas. The deployment of U-boats into a long patrol line solved the problem of locating convoys in the vastness of the ocean, while the U-boats themselves attacked the convoy on the surface at night like motor torpedo boats, submerging only to escape Allied forces. What followed was the U-boats' first happy time when they roamed the Atlantic with impunity, overwhelming the tiny escorts of transatlantic convoys and creating a generation of U-boat aces. The RCN participated modestly in this early phase. The bulk of the Navy's destroyers were already overseas guarding Britain against invasion. These destroyers soon joined escort forces for convoys in the western approaches. It was during these operations that HMCS Ottawa shared in the destruction of the Italian submarine Fadi Bruno on November 6th, the first time the Royal Canadian Navy destroyed an enemy at sea. What ultimately drew the whole Royal Canadian Navy into the war against the U-boats was the extension of pack attacks westward. By the spring of 1941, the British had pushed anti-submarine escort of transatlantic convoys to south of Iceland, leaving a gap between there and the limits of Royal Canadian Navy escorts on the Grand Banks. In May 1941, the British asked them to fill that gap in transatlantic anti-submarine escort of convoys. As a result, the Newfoundland Escort Force, NEF, was born, and with it the commencement of the Royal Canadian Navy's war on U-boats. The reputation of the Royal Canadian Navy in this war depends on the success or failure of the NEF, according to Commodore L.W. Murray, Royal Canadian Navy Flag Officer, Newfoundland Force, October 1941. The burden of this new role fell on the Royal Canadian Navy's corvettes, those jack-of-all-trades built for local work. In the spring of 1941, their great value lay in seakeeping and operational range, thereby allowing the convoy system to be completed. The keys to effective trade defense were evasive routing, based on good intelligence, and the British battle fleet, which sank Bismarck in May. The close escort only fought if the system failed. So in 1941, using newly commissioned and ill-equipped Canadian corvettes with poorly trained crews in the mid-ocean was a fair risk. Besides, there were some in the Royal Canadian Navy who thought the corvette was an excellent ASW vessel, especially the senior officer, Canadian Corvettes Lieutenant Commander James Douglas Chummy Prentice. Royal Canadian Naval Reserve. A Canadian who had retired from the Royal Navy in 1934, Prentice thought that the nimble and highly maneuverable corvette was more than a match for the U-boat, and he taught their crews to launch quick attacks. These called for a steady 12-knot speed during both the search and the final depth charge. This allowed contact to be maintained until the last possible moment and eliminated the sudden bursts of speed in the vital attack run that would alert the U-boat. Enthusiasm for attacking and sinking U-boats were the hallmarks of Prentice's training schemes throughout the war, and it may account for the success of Canadian corvettes in destroying U-boats. However, what was wanted from 1941 to 1943 was less the ability to sink U-boats than skill at defending convoys, and equipment shortages made this task especially difficult. Good convoy defense required good tactical intelligence, excellent leadership and teamwork, and effective communications. In 1941, most corvettes lacked good visual signaling equipment, radio telephones, and even telescopes to read flag signals. Escort groups were often ad hoc, leadership was inconsistent, and group training non-existent because no permanent group training establishment existed. These problems were manifest in all the operations of the NEF, especially in the battle for SC-42 in September 1941. The slow eastbound convoy was escorted by the destroyer HMCS Skeena and 3 corvettes with support from now Commander Prentice's training group Chambly and Moose Jaw. During the initial confused night action of September 8th and 9th, when 7 ships were lost, the escort caught only glimpses of the attackers. When Kenogami fired its 4-inch gun at a U-boat, then blast left everyone temporarily night-blind, and the sub escaped. Meanwhile, Skeena pursued a U-boat inside the convoy just as the convoy started an emergency run. While Skeena swerved to avoid collisions, the U-boat raced by it on an opposite course, drawing fire from every gun within range. Both Skeena and the U-boat escaped unharmed. Pardon me? Sorry about that. Canadian fortunes were redeemed the next night when Prentice's Chambly blew U-501 to the surface right in front of Moose Jaw. When Moose Jaw ran alongside the submarine, the U-boat's captain blithely stepped from his conning tower to the corvette's foxhole. Then U-501 got underway. Moose Jaw eventually rammed it, then used its guns to keep the Germans from manning their armament. Most of the crew was captured before the U-boat sank. U-501 was the RCN's first confirmed U-boat kill and its first single-handed destruction of an enemy warship. In the end, 16 merchant ships were lost from SC-42 in reaction. The Royal Canadian Navy increased the size of escort groups and scrambled to acquire new equipment like radio telephones and radar. But this all took time. Only 15 early model radars were fitted to Canadian corvettes before the end of the year, and communications remained a major impediment. In mid-October, Shediac missed a flag signal ordering a change in convoy course, and the next morning found itself alone at sea. Through the fall of 1941, NEF operations remained plagued by poor equipment, too few destroyers and escort group commanders, no training, and an operational cycle between Newfoundland and Iceland that was unbearable as winter set in. The Royal Canadian Navy was not without ideas about how to fix these problems, but for various reasons, none of these could be implemented. What saved the struggling NEF was the sudden transformation of the war itself on December 7th, 1941. Pardon me, sorry. The entry of the United States into the war opened up a vast new theater of enemy operations, and by the end of January 1942, U-boats were probing the U.S. coast. American unpreparedness for the onslaught left Allied shipping unguarded, and tonnage losses spiked to 3 times the previous yearly average. Canada was spared much of this calamity because of the rapid introduction of convoys along the east coast, such that the Royal Canadian Navy even ran oil tanker convoys to South America through the carnage without loss. But the expansion of the war in 1942 resulted in 2 defeats for the Royal Canadian Navy that year. The root cause of both was the lingering problem of outdated equipment, but this was exacerbated by the overcommitment of the Royal Canadian Navy to operations in support of its allies. The first area to feel this inflexibility was the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The Canadian Navy had long anticipated U-boat attacks in the Gulf. The moment came in May when U-553 sank the steamers Nicoya and Leto between Gaspé and Anticosti Island. By the time U-132 arrived in the St. Lawrence River in early July, traffic was moving in convoys. But in the slot between Father Point and Cap Gaspé, the river confined their movements to an easily intercepted route. U-132 discovered this on the bright moonlit summer night of the 6th to the 7th of July, not far from Rimouski, where it sank 3 ships from the Quebec-Sydney convoy QS-105. The escort Banger-class Drummondville caught U-132 on the surface and then tried to ram it. However, the U-boat crash dived successfully. Drummondville then bracketed the sub with depth charges, inflicting serious damage, but no Aztec content was obtained. The real damage was done by U-517 and U-165. In the early hours of August 27th in the Northern Gulf, U-517 sank the American troopship Chatham. Only 13 of the 562 passengers and crew were lost, while U-165 attacked the main body of the convoy, seeking one ship and leaving another foundering to be sunk by U-517. U-517 then escaped destruction when it entered Forteau Bay and ran afoul of the corvette Weyburn, which was unable to get an Aztec contact. Those same poor acoustic conditions served US U-517 several days later, after it attacked the Little Quebec-Labrador convoy NL-6. Weyburn stumbled on 2 U-57, then took aim at Donald Stewart, driving the sub underwater just as the torpedoes were fired. I lost my But there we go. As the streamer sank, Weyburn looked in vain for the U-boat. Tony German, a junior officer on Weyburn's bridge, later recalled, "It is a fact that Weyburn didn't get a sniff on him on Astic, although we'd seen him twice as large as life." In September, U-517 and U-165 moved into the St. Lawrence River and let the convoys come to them. The first to do so was QS-33, which lost one ship, and the armed yacht HMCS Raccoon to U-165 on September 7th off Cap Chat. The next day, U-517 sank 3 ships from the convoy off Cap Gaspé. German radio gloated over the victory, describing Canada's escort fleet as third-rate. 4 days later, U-517 destroyed the corvette Charlottetown in broad daylight off Cap Gaspé. Then, on September 15th, U-517 attacked SQ-36 by using the eastward flow of the river and the forward motion of the convoy to drift silently down on its victims in the darkness, sinking 2 ships. U-165 informed the convoy's progress, later hit 3 ships in a submerged daylight attack. No naval counterattacks were effective against these 2 intrepid submariners. In many instances, the escorts were right on top of U-boats and watched them submerge, and yet the searching Astics failed to penetrate the complex water layers. As one German U-boat captain later observed, once down into the Gulf through the 15-meter depth layer, they were as safe as in the bosom of Abraham. The Canadian Navy had to admit defeat, and the government closed the Gulf to oceanic shipping in September 1942. Actual losses to Gulf shipping were negligible, for the QSQ series only 1.2%. Moreover, the decision was made in the late shipping season and other ports could handle the traffic. Nonetheless, both the Navy and the government took intense public criticism for their inability to keep the nation's main artery open in the face of enemy attack. Perhaps for that reason, problems in the Navy's other major effort in the mid-ocean remained a secret for 40 years. The elimination of Iceland as an escort relay point in February to free escorts for elsewhere forced convoys to travel a predictable route across the Atlantic by the spring of 1942. The advantage of for the Royal Canadian Navy was that its 4 Newfoundland-based escort groups gained access to excellent facilities in Northern Ireland, including training. When the U-boat pack returned to the middle of the ocean briefly in May, to see what was going on, they easily found Canadian escort convoys, but did not find them easy targets. Nonetheless, serious equipment shortfalls remained, especially the lack of modern radar. Although the Royal Canadian Navy was adapting to 1.5-meter sets known as the SW-1C, the British were already fitting the shorter wavelength and hence more precise 10-centimeter radar, Type 271. It could detect small targets on the sea at considerable ranges. The Royal Canadian Navy was also short of destroyers and shipboard high-frequency direction finding HFDF radio interceptor gear. Destroyers provided escorts with the speed needed to put down shadowing U-boats, forcing them to submerge and so drive off the enemy. Only the Royal Canadian Navy's pre-war River class and the ex-American four-stacker St. Croix class had the range to operate in mid-ocean. In theory, the British made up for the shortfall of destroyers in Canadian groups, but the Royal Navy destroyers assigned were often mechanically unreliable, and in the fall of 1942, Canadian mid-ocean groups frequently sailed with only 1 destroyer. Gonna scroll up here. The importance of destroyers was enhanced if their sweeps were directed by HFDF. HFDF could fix the direction and rough distance of a U-boat wireless transmission, and 2 sets could fix the sub's location by triangulation. If this was done early and well enough, destroyer sweeps might help the convoy escape entirely. At least, HFDF directed sweeps reduced the number of U-boats the escort had to fight in 1942. The only Canadian ship fitted with HFDF was Restigouche. Let's see what we have here. The Royal Canadian Navy also understood the need to reinforce threatened convoys, especially in the fog-shrouded waters of the Grand Banks. When the British objected to the establishment of a special Canadian support group to operate there, the Royal Canadian Navy had to fudge one. In April 1942, Chummy Prentice's training group was re-established, and during the next 4 months, he trained over a score of corvettes and supported nearly as many convoys east of Newfoundland when his group dissolved in August due to increased operational commitments. The Americans and British soon established the Western Support Force to fill the need. There was no question that Royal Canadian Navy escorted convoys needed all the help they could get in late 1942, for they were still slaved to slow convoys. In the last half of 1942, the Royal Canadian Navy escorted 14 out of 24 slow eastbound convoys, while the Royal Navy protected. Sorry, I think I am mistaking that. I'm There's an acronym RN that I am referring to as Royal Navy, and I am guessing that that is not what it stands for. Uh, Here, I'm going to take a look to see if I can find out what it is to make sure I'm giving you the right information. And um, yeah, I'm not finding it. It might have been earlier in the text, and I just don't remember what it is. So I will just say RN for now instead of Royal Navy, because that's clearly not what it is about here. Right. So let me go back there. There was no question that the Royal Canadian Navy escorted convoys needed all the help they could get in late 1942, for they were still slaved to slow convoys. In the last half of 1942, the Royal Canadian Navy escorted 14 out of 24 slow eastbound convoys, while the RN protected the fast HX series. The British escorted more than their share of the slow westbound convoys, 17 out of 21, but westbound speeds were nominal. All ships steaming in ballast against prevailing winds were slow. This meant that Canadian escorted convoys, roughly 35% of the traffic, were more easily intercepted, more easily attacked, and spent longer in the danger area. Attacks against convoys in the mid-ocean began in earnest in early June, when ONS 100, the 100th slow convoy returning from the United Kingdom to Halifax, was attacked while escorted by C-1. The next slow convoy, ONS 102, escorted by the American Group A3 of 2 U.S. Coast Guard cutters, a USN destroyer, the Canadian destroyer Restigouche, and 3 RCN corvettes, that's Royal Canadian Navy corvettes, reinforced by Prentice's training group of Chambly and Aurelia, fared much better. In one day alone, Restigouche used its HFDF set to locate and drive off 5 U-boats as they made their sighting reports. 2 were damaged. Meanwhile, Prentice operated as a distant cover and a striking force around ONS 102. In the end, only one daring submariner slipped into the convoy, sinking 1 ship. These battles confirmed the need for modern equipment, but there was little the Royal Canadian Navy could do to acquire it before the year ended. Moreover, convoy battles in July and August were not without success for the Royal Canadian Navy. In the battle around the fast UK to New York convoy ON-113 at the end of July, 2 ships were lost, but St-Croix sank U-90. In the battle for ON-1115 a week later, C-3 fought the Wolfpack to a stalemate for most of the passage. In the absence of HFDF, the group used its medium-frequency direction finders, fitted for navigational purposes, to locate the MF homing beacons of shadowing U-boats. It was only partially successful, and it may simply have been the aggressive patrolling by Saguenay and Skeena during the transit that kept the pack at bay. Sweeps also led to the destruction of U-558 on July 31st by Skeena and the corvette Wetaskiwin. ON-115 eventually suffered losses in the Grand Banks fog. 3 ships were hit, 2 sunk. Had the rump of C-3 been fitted with modern radar, they could have turned the poor visibility to advantage. The corvette Sackville had 3 close encounters with U-boats on the night of July 31st, August 1st. At the time, it was believed it killed one and seriously damaged another, but none was sunk. Even British staff officers concluded afterwards Sackville's 3 U-boats would have been a gift if it had been fitted with RDF radar Type 271. Two more U-boat kills followed that summer. The most dramatic was Assiniboine's memorable battle with U-210 in the fog around SC-94 in August, after a wild hour-long running gun battle. While Assiniboine tried to ram and the U-boat tried to steady on course long enough to dive, they traded gunfire. U-210's conning tower was riddled with holes and littered with dead? Okay. Assiniboine's upper decks and British bridge were cut up by German 40mm fire, and small fires started in its superstructure. Eventually, Assiniboine rammed the U-boat, sending it to the bottom, and the destroyer into port for months of repair. The British corvette Dianthus helped even the score around SC-94 by ramming and sinking another sub. The Royal Canadian Navy killed one more U-boat in the summer of 1942, but was not credited until 1982, when Morden sank U-756 in the battle for SC-97 on September 1. That marked the end of a successful summer for Canadians on the North Atlantic run. One of the 5 U-boats destroyed in the mid-ocean since May. Canadians sank 4. One can only wonder at what the sea groups might have accomplished had they been properly equipped. But when they started sinking U-boats, the Royal Canadian Navy mid-ocean effort came to be judged by its ability or to defend convoys. I'm just going to see how much there's left in here. Okay, it's a mouthful, but I've started, so let's finish it. I'm having if you're noticing me having a little difficulty, it is because I am. I'm having as you know, I've not slept very much, and I'm having a little dip of fatigue. So the words are dancing on the screen a little bit for me, and I'm having a little trouble keeping focus. But hey, that's okay. That's okay. So I just beg your patience and indulgence there, and I will get through it. All right. So let's see. Where was I? In there. Just gonna go back here. There we go. The crisis began in September with the passage of ONS 127, during which aggressive sweeps by St. Croix and Ottawa could not prevent the loss of 7 ships, and Ottawa itself with heavy loss of life. Canadians congratulated the escort of ONS 127 for a difficult job well done, blaming the losses directly on the lack of modern radar. Senior British officers were not impressed, sharply criticizing what they labeled poorly directed sweeps. The British had long suspected that the Canadians were aggressive, but misguided, and ONS 127 seemed to confirm that. With the loss of Ottawa, and with Assiniboine and St. Laurent and refit, the Royal Canadian Navy was now down to 1 destroyer for each of its 4 mid-ocean groups. While the Royal Canadian Navy looked for ways of acquiring more escort destroyers, it finally removed the bureaucratic hurdles to fitting modern equipment in British ports, and hoped that the British destroyers assigned to the sea groups were able to steam. And to make matters even worse, the Germans now had a radar detector to warn of first-generation metric wavelength sets. In the fall of 1942, they used that new warning device to help them hone in on Canadian escorts using their SW-1C sets. In contrast to the struggling Canadians, the British groups in the mid-ocean sank U-boats and put up effective radar barriers around their convoys. In the most serious British battle of the fall, for SC-107 in mid-October, 8 losses to the convoy were balanced by 2 U-boat kills by the RN destroyers. If Canadian ships could no longer sink U-boats, they must at least protect shipping. The tragic passage of SC-107 in early November suggested that they could no longer do that either. SC-107, escorted by Restigouche and 6 corvettes, was intercepted while still west of Cap Ras. 17 U-boats were directed to attack. One was sunk by the RCAF early in the battle, while Restigouche used its HFDF to help drive off shadowers. But with only 1 destroyer, with only Restigouche and the British corvette Celandine with modern radar, the escort was overwhelmed. 8 ships went down in the first furious night of battle. 7 more followed over the next week. No U-boats were sunk by the naval escort. It was a devastating blow to Canadian prestige and morale. In contrast, ONS 144 coming the other way a week later and defended by only 6 corvettes, 5 Norwegian and 1 British, of Group B6 was also beset by a large pack. Fortunately, all the escorts carried Type 271 radar, and by forming a tight barrier around the convoy, they fought through with only 6 ships lost. Quite apart from Canadian shortcomings, the British were anxious about the mid-ocean by November for other reasons. The landings in North Africa on November 8 resulted in the suspension of the Eastern Atlantic convoys, making the mid-ocean the only way in or out of Britain. Moreover, much of the shipping lost in 1942 was British or British chartered, and the North African campaign strained what remained. By November, the Allies were also operating in the Atlantic without the benefit of ultra-intelligence. Since the previous February, Allied cryptanalysts had been unable to read the signals of Atlantic U-boats. Through most of 1942, with the U-boats attacking inshore, this was not a serious problem. However, by late 1942, the U-boats began to concentrate in the mid-ocean again. The decisive battle of the Atlantic War was looming, and any weakness in Allied escort forces had potentially disastrous consequences. SC-107 pointed to the Canadians as the weak link in the mid-ocean. Training, maintenance, leadership, and equipment all seemed to be inadequate. Even the Americans confided to the British their concerns about the ability of the Canadians. Obscure warnings about, quote, fairly drastic measures to sort out the mid-ocean reached Ottawa in early December. The Royal Canadian Navy was aware of the need for action too. In November, Saguenay was damaged in a collision and St. Croix went into refit, leaving the Canadian mid-ocean groups desperately short of destroyers. In early December, the government applied to the British for the loan of at least $12 million. No, sorry, $12 million. In early December, the government appealed to the British for the loan of at least 12 escort destroyers. The British were not convinced that destroyers were the solution. They believed that the Royal Canadian Navy had expanded too rapidly, taken on too many tasks, and was poorly trained and badly led. Something had to be done. The British solution was to get the Royal Canadian Navy out of the embattled mid-ocean. On 17th of December 1942, Winston Churchill made a formal request to the Canadian government asking that the sea groups be withdrawn. The Canadian naval staff rejected the British claims. Equipment shortages were crucial, as was the unreliability of the RN destroyers assigned to Canadian groups, and the burden of escorting slow convoys. Even Lieutenant Commander P.M. Bliss, RN, recently arrived in Ottawa from St. John's as the new staff officer anti-submarine, rejected the British assertion, observing, quote, that when C groups are brought up technically to B groups, a very great increase in efficiency will result without reference whatever to training and experience. Pardon me, kids, I have to cough. There we go. Oh, I don't think the cough button worked for that, so I am sorry if you heard that. Tech today, not cooperating with me. All right. Let's see where we here. Okay. The Canadian naval staff rejected the British claims. We'll go back a little bit. The Canadian naval staff rejected British claims. Equipment shortages were crucial, as was the unreliability of RN destroyers assigned to Canadian groups and the burden of escorting slow convoys. Even Lieutenant Command. What? Huh? Did that make? I'm so sorry, kids. The screen just changed. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Equipment shortages were crucial, as was the unreliability of the RN destroyers assigned to Canadian groups and the burden of escorting slow convoys. Even Lieutenant Commander P.M. Bliss, RN, recently arrived in Ottawa from St. John's as the new staff officer anti-submarine, rejected the British assertion, observing that when C groups are brought up technically to B groups, a very great increase in efficiency will result without reference to whatever training and experience. Bliss was right. However, events at sea undermined the Canadian case. In late December, ONS 154, escorted by C-1, was routed through the widest portion of the air gap, battered by the tail end of a hurricane and beset by 20 U-boats. The escort had much new equipment aboard, but the radars and HFDF sets were not yet calibrated, and the assigned British destroyer failed to show. C-1 fought blind, holding the U-boats to a draw for the first 2 days, sinking U-356 in the process, not awarded until after the war. Then the defense was overwhelmed, and ONS 157 lost 15 ships with no apparent retribution exacted upon the enemy. On the 6th of January, 1943, the Canadian cabinet agreed to the temporary withdrawal of Canada's mid-ocean escorts. Quote, "This is another real good turn you have done us," Winston Churchill replied. Indeed it was. The RCN had been driven to the brink of collapse in 1942 in the face of enormous enemy pressure. As the RN's monthly anti-submarine report for January 1943 conceded, the Canadians have had to bear the brunt of the U-boat attack in the North Atlantic for the last 6 months. That is to say, of about half of the German U-boats operating at sea. That they did so with a fleet manned largely by reservists who put up a good show is immensely to their credit. In short, during the last half of the 1942, the Canadian Navy shouldered the weight of the U-boat war. Sadly, subsequent historians of the Atlantic War failed to notice. In 1943, the Allies won the Battle of the Atlantic and, in 3 distinct phases, inflicted a punishing defeat on the U-boats. The Royal Canadian Navy was not really a part of this great Allied offensive. It remained tied primarily to close escort work. In the spring of 1943, victory around the transatlantic convoys was won by a combination of better weather, improved intelligence, increased air support, and designated support groups that were able to hunt and kill U-boats. The RCN had a front row seat for this offensive when its escorts returned to the mid-ocean in March and early April, but attempts by the Canadians to again field a support group did not come to fruition until late. By then, the carnage in the mid-ocean had ended and the Germans had temporarily abandoned pack attacks. The Allied offensive over the summer consisted of air assaults in the Bay of Biscay and by USN escort carriers off Northwest Africa and south of the Azores. By the time EG-5, Escort Group 5, the first RCN support group got into the Biscay to help the Air Force, the battle had escalated to include surface vessels and heavy reinforcement from the German Air Forces. As a result, EG-5's first foray from northern Spain ended in catastrophe when the Germans employed their new glider bombs to attack the ships, including the new RCN Tribal-class destroyer Athabaskan. Surface ships ASW operations in the area were subsequently abandoned. Meanwhile, the second Royal Canadian Navy Support Group, EG-9, arrived in the UK. Its first assignment also encountered a new weapon that effectively destroyed the group. In September, the Germans planned to blast their way back into a North Atlantic convoys using increased anti-aircraft fire and a new acoustic homing torpedo. In late September, 20 U-boats equipped with this new equipment wait for ONS-18, ONS-202, 2 convoys that joined together. As they approached the pack, EG-9 was sent to help. By the time EG-9 arrived on September 20th, a full battle was underway. The British frigate Lagan of C2 already had its stern blown off by a homing torpedo, and while conducting a sweep at St. Croix of EG-9, was struck by a homing torpedo that left it shattered. EG-9 senior officer arrived in HMS Itchen just in time to see the second torpedo strike St. Croix, which disappeared in a towering explosion. When a torpedo detonated in Itchen's wake, it set off the screen the rescue operation of the corvette Polyanthus. All that Itchen ever found of the corvette was wreckage and a single man clinging to it. Polyanthus, too, had been completely destroyed by singing homing torpedo. By a single homing torpedo, not a singing homing torpedo. It was easily the next morning before Itchen returned to pluck 100 survivors out of St. Croix from the sea and headed back into the battle. Despite intense air support and the sinking of one of the attackers, 10 U-boats remained in contact with ONS-18 and ON-202 at dusk on September 22nd. That night, EG-9's corvettes Morden, Chambly, and Sackville all dodged homing torpedoes, but Itchen was not so fortunate. It disappeared in a shattering blast caused by a torpedo detonating just below its magazine. Only 3 men survived, 2 from Itchen and 1 who had been rescued from St. Croix. Polyanthus' lone survivor perished. The Germans claimed a great victory in the battle for ONS-18, ON-202, but the truth was quite different. 3 escorts and 6 merchant vessels were lost, but so were 2 U-boats. A Royal Canadian Navy success of sorts in this battle was the quick response to homing torpedo. Production of Canadian Anti-Acoustic Torpedo, or CAT, equipment began on September 21st, the day after St. Croix was sunk, and while the battle still raged. By the time ONS-18 ON-202's escorts arrived in St. John's, their new CAT, C-A-A-T, CAT, gear was waiting. Meanwhile, the final German pack assault on the transatlantic convoys fizzled out, hounded and beaten by Allied naval air power, and watched them again from the sidelines by the RCN. It was not until November that the first U-boat kill fell to a Royal Canadian Navy support group when Snowberry of EG-5 sank U-536. If 1943 was arguably the worst year of the war for the Royal Canadian Navy ASW, then 1944 was the best. The sinking of U-536 in November 1943 marked the start of a year-long period in which the Canadian Navy was second to none in finding and sinking submarines. Over the winter of 1943-44, much of the support group effort around transatlantic convoys fell to the Canadians, including EG-6, 9, and C-2. They did extremely well with a concentration of successes in the open ocean and in late winter and early spring. Indeed, between the sinking of U-257 by the New River class frigate 5 Wasik, I'm gonna have trouble there. Wasikishu. Okay, that is okay. That's why it's in the text there are footnotes that have numbers, and I was wondering why we're calling it the River class frigate 5. And the 5 was underlined, but I'm not supposed to read the 5. That's why I got thrown. Okay. Indeed, between the sinking of U-257 by the New River class frigate Waskissu on February 27, 1944, and the end of April, the Royal Canadian Navy sank 4 out of 14 U-boats claimed by surface vessels in the North Atlantic. Among these winter victories was U-744 pursued by C-2 for 32 hours. Wow! On March 5th, 6th, the second longest hunt of the war. C-2 was operating in support of HX-280 when Gatineau picked up U-74 on Astic at great depth. Its captain was no ordinary submariner, and attacks during the day achieved nothing. C-2 circled the U-boat that night, maintaining Astic contact and waiting for first light to renew its attacks. The next morning, the pounding began. For 3 hours, C-2 boiled the ocean with barrages of depth charges, shattering machinery in U-744 and causing its pressure hull to leak. But the intrepid submariners refused to quit. After a pause for several hours and amid deteriorating weather, C-2 attacked again in the late afternoon. Then, suddenly, 744 bobbed to the surface near Chilliwack. The corvette smothered the U-boat in gunfire, blowing off the sub's anti-aircraft gun and riddling the conning tower with holes. When the firing stopped, a boarding party was sent away to try to salvage the U-boat. 39 Germans were rescued, but U-744, slowly filling with water, was torpedoed and sunk. The sinking of U-744 was a classic deepwater ASW operation of the period. A large group of ships holding a deep contact, pounding it relentlessly with masses of depth charges, and hoping that a lucky attack or sheer exhaustion in the submarine would end the action. Meanwhile, British support groups equipped with newer equipment and in some cases, like EG-2, directed by special intelligence, scored with greater ease. The net result, however, was much the same. The Royal Canadian Navy proved to be an effective U-boat hunters in the first months of 1944. That trend continued over the summer as the best of the North Atlantic ASW veteran ships as well as men concentrated in British waters to support the Allied landings in France that started on July 6th. Beside the channel clearing effort, the Royal Canadian Navy committed 4 support groups to this campaign. The Veteran River-class destroyers were combined into groups EG-11 and 12 and assigned to work in the middle of the English Channel along with 2 British groups. 2 groups of Royal Canadian Navy River-class frigates EG-6 and 9 rejoined 3 British groups to form an outer barrier to the English Channel between Brest and the south of Ireland. These groups faced a new challenge, inshore ASW in tidal waters that were often mined and invariably strewn with shipwrecks, while other constant threat of attack by the enemy. ASW veterans soon understood that proper classification of the contract was all important and extremely difficult until they learned to anticipate the impact of tidal currents on their own movements and on water passing quickly over bottom features. It was not unusual to have reports of large boulders moving at considerable speed along the bottom. This was complicated by the unexpected tendency of U-boats to lie on the bottom when being hunted. So, learning a new form of ASW and sorting out the enemy from the background clutter became the story of the summer of 1944. The best at doing this was EG-11, which sank 3 U-boats, the best score of any group over the summer. EG-11's skill owed a great deal to the tenacity, patience, and inventive gene-affected systems for classifying bottomed contacts, including profiling them and using their navigational echo sounder. Snagging the contact with a grappling hook on a wire and sliding a depth charge down the wire to cook off against the target achieved further classification. EG-11 called this tin opening. If the debris, especially bodies or parts thereof, was fresh and German, it was probably a sub. RN officers found this particularly distasteful, although highly effective. The Royal Canadian Navy continued to enjoy great success in its ASW operations in the fall of 1944, when things were generally very quiet as the Germans adjusted to the loss of bases in France. The Royal Canadian Navy achieved a pinnacle of sorts in October when the frigate Annan of the EG sank U-1006 north of the Shetlands. They had given up on an ASTIC contact and were miles away when Annan's radar operator took one final peek astern and found U-1006 on the surface. The frigate raced back and sank the U-boat after a brief but fierce gun battle. U-1006 was the only U-boat sunk by the Allied navies in the North Atlantic in 1944. Unfortunately, none of the expertise displayed by the Royal Canadian Navy inshore in the British waters in 1944 transferred easily to Canadian waters. The area was vast by comparison. There were too few support groups in Canada, and the Royal Canadian Navy struggled with complex inshore water conditions to the very end of the war. The U-boats therefore achieved some success off Canada in 1944, torpedoing the frigate Magog in the St. Lawrence River and the corvette Shawinigan off Pago Basque in the fall of 1944. Worse followed that winter. U-806 sank the minesweeper Clayoquot just off Halifax on Christmas Eve, and then in early January, U-1232 began a successful cruise off Nova Scotia. On January 4th, it sank 3 ships near Egg Island, then attacked convoy BX-141, and the various interests to Halifax Harbor during a blizzard, sinking 2 ships and damaging a third. U-1232 was lining up for another shot when the frigate Ethnic ran over it by accident, smashing the conning tower, rolling the U-boat over, and snagging the okay, sorry, there we go. I had to scroll up there. U-1232 was lining up for another shot when the frigate Ettrick ran over it by accident, smashing the conning tower, rolling the U-boat over and snagging the sub with its cat gear. No one in Ettrick knew what had struck it until the hull was examined in dry dock and bits of U-1232 removed. The sub, however, survived. ASTIC conditions had been so poor that contact could not be made on freighter British Freedom, which lay on the bottom with its bow pointed skyward. Apart from atrocious weather and water conditions, the bottom off Halifax was so boulder-strewn that ASTIC echoes bounced in all directions and ships often unwittingly tracked themselves. Only constant air patrols and operations by USN forces in deep water beyond the Canadian zone provided an effective check on U-boat depredations in the Royal Canadian Navy's own front yard in the last winter of the war. The situation overseas was better. Royal Canadian Navy groups continued to sink U-boats until the end of March 1945, even if they were unable to keep up with the RN. Under pressure to crush the U-boat fleet before the war ended or Germany could deploy the radically new type XX-1 and XX-3 subs in large numbers, the British increasingly put their better-equipped groups in the hotspots. The key components of this very late war ASW were the latest ASTIC in radar. In particular, the 3-centimeter radar of RN Captain class frigates could detect the snorkel masts of U-boats. So radar searches became the key to initial detection, and British groups got the high probability areas as a result. Ironically, the Royal Canadian Navy's last kill of the war, U-1003, occurred when a snorkeling U-boat collided with New Glasgow on a dark night. The U-boat was subsequently abandoned, and the Royal Canadian Navy was awarded credit. The Royal Canadian Navy destroyed 33 enemy submarines during the war, 3 Italian and the rest German. It was in the end a very small proportion of the 1,000 U-boats sunk by the Allies between 1939 and 1945, and a very modest portion of the 500 of these claimed by naval vessels. But the real measure of the Royal Canadian Navy's war against the U-boats lay in the shipping safely escorted. Indeed, a huge proportion of the 25,000 ships brought safely across the Atlantic during the war moved under Canadian escort. That work was not glamorous and it made no compelling history. However, it did make Allied victory in 1945 possible. And in the Atlantic War against submarine adversaries, the RCN found its niche for the next 50 years. So there you go, kids and cubs, a little history here about that battle, and just an idea of a little bit of our military history today, because we're taking a moment to remember that, and to have, as I mentioned at the start of the show, some solemn gratitude. All right, kids and cubs, that is the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you include a little word saying why it is that our content resonated with you. Because, right, sharing is caring. All right. Actually, you know what? Before I finish off with that, let's just go and check with what you have to say here in the chat. Want to be sure that I get your specific Remembrance Day comments in there, especially if you're talking about loved ones and family. Kit Bucky here. My mixed feelings about Remembrance Day nationalism includes revering the Canadian Armed Forces despite their deep challenges. It's the soldiers, not the military brass, we're honoring. Yes, sir. Very, very well spoken. Very well spoken. Glad you mentioned that, and that you made that a very, very important distinction. Let's see, who else do we have here? Kit PNC Bio, talking about when we were talking about the alleged prayer ban. That is not a prayer ban. Being an atheist myself and most other atheists, I know I don't I I know really don't I really don't care if there is a religious ceremony or not. We respect other people's beliefs, but it does not harm us if someone prays. Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. And this is specifically the prayer that is led. There's nothing that forbids anybody in the crowd to make a specific religious prayer, right? When we're taking this moment all together, anybody can pray who they want to whom they want in that moment. Let's see, what else do we have here? Going down here. Kit Nona Carol here. As much as I hated, I'm going to say none of my Catholic upbringing. I can't tell for sure if that's right because there's a typo. I thank it for, maybe that's not none there. Anyway, I thank it for pushing lessons of Jesus, not Catholicism first. There's a difference in my opinion and according to my very religious nona. Indeed. Kit Christian, might be an unpopular take, but it's a legitimate take for those who believe so. In my experience, chaplains in the military are the most useless people in the military. There you go. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see if we got another stuff here. Kid Bucky, agree completely on the nationalism creeping into Remembrance. Indeed. And that should not be the case here with that. Let's see. According to Kit Uncover, officials in the Netherlands are demanding answers from a U.S. commission after panels honoring black vets at a World War II ceremony were taken down. Good that feet are being held to the fire here. Thank you, Netherlands. Dank u wel. That's how you say thank you in Dutch. Don't ask me how I know that. I travel. I pick up a couple of words here and there. According to Gold Dragon, who I believe is watching us from Alaska, if you are, remind me if I'm correct on that. Veterans Day in US in US, but mostly normal day at work for me since I'm not a federal worker. Okay. Kit Sharon, I have my own spirituality, mostly Wiccan and indigenous. I believe in love and nature. I respect everyone's right to believe what they believe as long as it makes them good people, not fanatics. Exactly. Like, I'm not particularly religious myself, but if people are religious and it brings them something and it inspires them to go out and do good work, more power to you. Yes. I'm more spiritual myself as well. Um, uh, if I were probably to adhere to any religion, I'd probably be more close to Buddhist than anything else. Uh, is probably where I would end up, uh, based on what I know. But I even as Christians, because I was baptized Catholic, my family, we were what we called CES Christians, Christmas, Easter, and Sacraments. That was about it. So we weren't particularly devout. Um, we did the sacraments because they were important, and you went at Christmas, and you went at Easter because those were big days, and if you didn't go otherwise, it wasn't really a big deal, right? And we didn't have yeah, I do believe we did have a crucifix on the wall, but we didn't have like a portrait of Jesus or anything, on the walls or anything like that. I believe my mom did wear a crucifix on a chain around her neck now and then, but not all the time. But it wasn't, yeah, that was it. And it wasn't real that much. But my mom did love to sing, and she loved church choirs and loved to sing in them, however. So I think she went to church more to sing in the choir, just to sing, than she went for any religious type or spiritual need. She really did love the music. Um, let's see, what else do we have here in there? Let's see. Do we have more? From Kit Kat. Oh, nice to get something from Kit Kat on this. My dad was too young to sign up, but his brother did. But at 6'4" and only 100 pounds, was not allowed to fight. He dedicated his life to the army and lived in so many places on Canadian bases. He was 6'4" and 100 pounds? Really? Wow, I can't even imagine what that looks like. I always imagine people 6'4" weighing so much more and being broader. I know there are slim people who are 6'4", but wow. Okay. Cat continues. He died 2 months ago at 99 in Brantford. His wife was English and was a nurse during the war. Huh. I love reading your stories. I love reading your stories. Playing with 3D. Seems like a lot of the returning vets make it to 99 to 100 years old. They really were tougher than us. Indeed. Kid Uncover, I see that you've sent me some heritage minutes. So we'll definitely play a few before we sign off for the day. Let's see. Who else do we have? Do we have more stuff? More stuff. Let's see. Scrolling down the chat here, seeing if you've got some stuff. Okay. We are moving on to seeing other topics here in the chat. Is that it? Ooh. Nope. Not that. Not that. Oh, Kitana Carol. I didn't know that your cat passed. Oh, I'm so sorry to learn about that. I'm giving you a big hug. Wow. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I guess that's we're getting to the point here where I was reading the history and the conversation turned to other things. There we go. Okay. So I think I'm getting close here. And yeah, that's all of your stories, unless there are some additional ones there that came in right at the end. If you do have anybody that you're honoring, like slip it in now because this is the time. All right. Going through, and I believe that is it. Do I see more? Nope. Okay. Those were all of your stories. So I got them all in. All right. So as I mentioned, share all our stuff. If you would like us to help you, kits and cubs, we can do that because thanks to the Ray Girl, we have our pod page, and that is this QR code that will bring you there if you scan it, or you can go to podpage.com/the true north eager beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the podcast bandwidth, it will come directly into your feed. It's as simple as that. Download us and take us with you. We'll keep you company as you take on the day. All right. And if you would like to help us, Kits and Cubs, we would be very grateful for your help. And we would be grateful for your help by you taking a trip on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. That QR code will bring you right there. And there you can smash with our buttons. Make kids Elaine and Cassie proud of you. Like, share, subscribe. Give them a little tickle. It helps us with the algorithm when you do, and it makes us very happy to see our numbers go up. And if you would like to help us in other ways, because we do incur some costs to bring the show to you, we have the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, where you can do your part to keep your favorite beaver moist. As you can tell in my voice, I'm still a little dehydrated. I can't believe that I actually am still somewhat dehydrated after all of that. Because even though my appetite hasn't come back, I'm now not, as you can see, drinking bird sips of water, like 3 bird sips of water over a 24-hour period. I'm actually going pretty heavy on the ginger tea as well to help with digestion and stuff. Um, so, but yeah, I am still parched and very dehydrated yet. So, if you need, if you want to help keep your favorite beaver moist, then some contributions to the hydration fund would be greatly appreciated. We thank you for your enthusiastic expressions of encouragement. And if you're on YouTube, we have super chat and we have memberships, all the good stuff. So thank you for all of your support. And if you are doing the Buy Canadian thing, because it's very, very important, then you can do a direct bank transfer via truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, which is our email account. Now, Kits and Cubs, if you're not able to contribute financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us, and we want to hear from you. So write to us at that same email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, to let us know what you think about the show and offer some guest suggestions or other good things. Uh, yeah, if you had something really good to happen to you, you got to share. Yeah, let me know. All right. Just like I appreciate you partaking in my joy on my anniversary day with my beaver sweetie. I love sharing in your joy as well. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to do so. So, when you have achievements, milestones, all of that, share them with us. We love to celebrate you. Okay. All right. Um, what else do we have, kits and cubs? Oh, yes. If you want to reach us via our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, and of course our YouTube channel. And of course, we have Instagram as well now, thanks to Kit Uncover. And of course, this is the Damn Fam Discord, thanks to Kit Saucy, and I think PNC Bio is very active there. So hopefully they will put the link to the Discord up there, and Kit Uncover will put the link to the Instagram up there. Please go to those venues as well. We're grateful for all the activity and on the Discord. It's a lovely place to keep the Damn Fam vibe going. If you like the conversation here and you want to reach out and talk to members of the Damn Fam at other points of the day and get that support and that love and that sense of community, the Damn Fam Discord is a wonderful place to get that. And I'm so glad that you took the initiative to create that. It makes me very happy. So all these venues. So please have a lot of fun on all platforms, whether official or Damn Fam created. All right. Let's see. What else do we have for you today? I think we're at because democracy is something that you do. And I finally figured out what was going wrong with that petition. I had the wrong number. I had been giving you the wrong number the last few days. I had been doing it off by rote that I just thought I remembered the number. It's not petition 6689, but 6679. Silly me. And that is the petition. So to encourage our MPs to be more on, like, for example, not suggesting that there's a prayer ban on Remembrance Day, perhaps. So if you would like there to be consequences with some teeth, then this petition is going to ask the House to try to make a law to that effect. And you only have 16 more days to sign because it closes for signature on November 27th. And we've crossed the 40,000 signature mark on this one, 40,494 signatures. How about that? Way to go, Canada. That's the way to do it. So please, I am going to be able to put the link here in the chat for you. There you go. And that is done. And we have the other one that I mentioned to you, petition 6821. And one is to encourage our parliamentarians to table a law that would ensure that Canadian media should be owned by Canadians and should be for Canadians to serve the best interest of Canadians. And we would love to get your signatures on that as well, kids and cubs, if you can. There you go. And I'm going to put that one in the chat as well. There you go. It's that simple. Please go and sign. Remember, kids and cubs, that you signed the petition and then you will get an email that asks you to confirm that you do want to sign the petition. The petition's not considered signed until you click on that email. And if we have any kids and cubs who are not Canadian citizens, but just Canadian residents, you are allowed to sign a petition. And if we have any kids and cubs who are watching who are under the age of 18 and are not allowed to vote, you are allowed to do democracy by signing petitions. So please make your voices heard. It is very, very important. All right. Now this is what I like to see. Kit Kathy Greenlight already signed the petition. Thank you. Thank you very much for doing democracy. There you go. Yay. Yay you. All right. Let's see. Words of wisdom. Sleep. Oh boy. But also because it's my anniversary. If you have someone special in your life, please take some time today to let them know. Right? Don't just say an I love you in passing. Look them straight in the eyes and, take some time to really mean it and make sure they receive it and feel it. It's a wonderful feeling. I got my Beaver sweetie a present yesterday. Yeah, I'm a hopeless romantic, and so is he. In Beauty and the Beast, right? They sort of have that rose under the glass and the petals fall. I found a place in Ottawa. It's this lovely little cafe, but that's also a floral shop. at the same time. So you can have coffee and have treats and whatnot. And it's also a flower shop. And they had something called Forever Roses. There are actual roses that they spray with some type of product, and the rose remains as vibrant and beautiful as it is forever. And then they put it in a sort of like a little bell, like you have that flower in Beauty and the Beast. So it made me think of that, and I thought that that was really romantic. So I got him one of those, Forever Rose, to let him know that I will love him forever. So yeah, I know. Mush, mush, mush. And one of our songs as a couple is a Disney song. It's "Once Upon a Dream" from Sleeping Beauty. So it's all a little tie-in. Kind of goes with our relationship and all of that. He was very, 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 very touched. And well, tonight we have dinner, so I'm very, very excited. He's taking me out to dinner today, and I'm going to get to take him out to dinner a little later, but it's going to have to be later in the month because uh, uh, I am rehearsing for a show, but so is he. He has the choral Christmas concert on Saturday, which I will not be able to go see because it's Hell Day for us. It's the day that we move into theater, and that we're there from 1 in the afternoon until 10 at night or something. And I have to miss the concert completely. But I'm going to be going to his dress rehearsals on the nights before to make sure I can see as much as I can and support him. But I'm unfortunately not going to be able to see the full performance. And then after that, he's off to Phoenix to go present at a big scientific conference down there. And then he's going to stop in Denver for a couple of days to visit with some family. So I'm going to get to take him out for dinner when he comes back near the end of the month. And I've got something really special planned for him. So I can't wait. I'm very, very excited. So, but tonight it's my turn to be celebrated. So I'm very much looking forward. He's bringing me to my favorite restaurant. He's actually going to come and watch me play my curling match and cheer me on. And then after that, we're going to go out and have a nice little bite together and then come back home for a snuggle because I love my snuggles. And so does he. So I know, mush, 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 mush. But yeah, my words of wisdom. If you love someone today, take some time to take some special time today and let them know. Make the day about love as well as remembrance. There you go. That's my words of wisdom. Kids and cubs, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And I'm going to be very gentle with myself and kind because as soon as it's over, I am literally going just to the other room right there and I'm going to conk out for a couple of hours and wake up refreshed because the last thing I want to do is at my own anniversary dinner to be face down in the soup blowing bubbles. All right, my lovely, lovely, lovely damn fam. Um, Thank you for spending this time with me today. And I believe we are at the audience participation part of the show. So if you could say on the count of three, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. And then we will come back with some uh, Remembrance Day Heritage Minutes. And thank you, Kit Uncover, for having provided them because it would be it would be sad to just end it like that and not have something at the end. I'm glad you thought of that. And oh, here I'm seeing all the love here. I'm seeing all the love for oh, thank you so much, Kits and Cubs, for sharing in my oh, you are delightful. I'm seeing the hearts. Oh, I'm seeing love roses. Playing 3D as someone who does not participate in feelings, I still get the warm fuzzies when I see others do it. You're like Mr. Grizzly. I don't know if you were with us a couple of years ago, but I was in a play and Mr. Grizzly came here to see it. And I told him it was a comedy. And then he came back and says, "You didn't tell me there were going to be feelings." Ah! Kid Sharon, have an awesome date night, Douglas. You know I will. You know I will. I'm going to be with my boo. How can it not be awesome? Kit Kathy say, glad you're feeling well enough to celebrate, and as am I. But if I wasn't feeling glad enough to celebrate, trust me, we would do is just store it in the bank until a day I felt good, and then we would go all out on that day. So we we love specific dates when we can, but we're not tied with them. We mark the occasion if we're not able to do it on the specific date, and we don't make a big deal of it. All right, I see Sharon here saying, "Mr. Beaver, please cue the cog." And did I do the 1, 2, 3? You know what? If I didn't do it, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. There you go. All right. And therefore, I must oblige. Here we go, kits and cubs. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Hopefully you guys didn't get a skip like I did. All right. This is a Heritage Minute. I think this is one I may not have seen yet. Mary Writer Hamilton. So let's learn.
The end was just the beginning. I felt I must come. If I did not come at once, it would be too late. And these places that are watered with the best blood of Canada might only be names and memories. I see it in the soldiers, the grief I know so intimately. And I will not abandon these men to it. The isolation wears on me. Slowly, the silence takes over, as if my heart has given out of air. I cannot talk. I can only paint.
For more than 2 years, Mary Writer Hamilton painted the battlefields of the First World War, creating an unforgettable visual record of service and sacrifices at immense personal cost.
Wow. See? I did not learn that. I did not learn that. I did not know. I'm learning new stuff here. I'm learning a lot of new stuff today, I have to say. Oh, and yes, let's see who else to have. Elsie McGill. So let's see what we have here with regard. Hold on. The computer is being a little weird today. Come on, computer, work with me. Okay, this is Elsie McGill, and again, this is one I have not seen, so I'm going to be learning something once again. Yeah. Okay.
is the work we've done retooling staff.
To build the hurricane.
Indeed. 40 planes last month with the capacity of up to 100. Our fighters are over England as we speak. Of course, it pains me to see airplanes mass-produced like boxcars or baby carriages. But in war, we make concessions in favor of innovation.
You must feel at home, though, managing all of these women.
I'm not here to manage women.
Well, you must admit it is an unusual job.
I'm the chief engineer here. I do what engineers do. That's all.
What are we doing now?
We're to win this war. We need to know how she flies.
Elsie McGill was the world's first female aeronautical engineer. She oversaw Canada's production of Hawker Hurricanes during the Second World War, earning her the nickname Queen of the Hurricanes.
Again, not know. This is Kid Uncover. Wow. You found some really, really good stuff. One last thing I do want to show you before we go and uncover also this to our attention. We have a message from the Prime Minister for Veterans Day. Not Veterans Day, Remembrance Day. Oh my God. I am making all kinds of errors today. I am so sorry. See what it is that he has to say to us, because this is his first Remembrance Day as Prime Minister. Yeah, it is. So let's see what he has to say to us.
To the brave women and men who answered the call, those who sacrificed years away from loved ones, those who returned from combat forever changed, and those who never came home. In an increasingly dangerous and divided world, remembrance is also vigilance. Our sovereignty and our security, and those of our allies, are not guaranteed. The women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces protect them every single day. They rush to communities as wildfires and floods roll in. They airlift life-saving aid across waters. They stand on guard in the Arctic, and they defend NATO's eastern flank. When people see a maple leaf on a sleeve or on the back of a truck, they see hope, and they get help. Today, as we pause to remember those acts of heroic service, we remember that our rights, our freedoms, our way of life were fought for and are won every day by Canadians who answer the call, lest we forget.
Indeed. Lest we forget. All right, kids and cubs, that's all I have for you today. And I will see you tomorrow. And now I am gone.